people still trying to park their car to get here, but I'm sure they will find their way into here. My name's Graham Thompson. I'm one of the people that's been helping Marty Withnell, help put this together so that Peter and his team can come up and speak to you about tough love. You're going to have a great day, there'll be no doubt. Firstly, can I pay accord to our sponsors who made this possible? Our senior sponsor for this day is Northern Star Resources. They were just so wonderful. We had a real hole in the budget in order to make this go in because there are costs involved with all these things. And I sent an email to Northern Star. In 20 minutes, I had confirmation from them that they would supply the money. And that's just terrific. At the same time, the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, they were very good too. They contributed $1,000 towards the cost of this today, and we're most appreciative of that. John Paul College have made equipment and people available at no charge to help the program today. Everett Butchers has supplied all the sausages for the sausage sizzle that we're having at lunchtime. Food always gets a clap, doesn't it? Design Sense did all of our advertising materials, and they were terrific. That's a good organisation. WA School of Mines, Curtin University made this premises and Louis Parnell available at no charge. And we as logistic management were pleased to go and make a small contribution. Before I go through the rest of it, you need to be aware that this is being broadcast. It's part of a package that's being put together for people to use in other places that he may visit, or other people that want to know what's actually going on. If you don't want to be recognised under the, when the camera's going out, if you can just go up and see Louis at the booth at the back, he'll make sure cameras don't go over you, or from the front anyway. I might be from the back, but in my case you might know that it is. But yeah, if you just let him know. So firstly, let me thank Marty. He's done a wonderful job putting the team together. And we're so thankful for all the volunteers that have come from all over the place, just quite remarkable, who've helped in one way or another. Couple of other things. If you've got a mobile phone, please put it on silent, turn it off, or I've got a pin over in the corner you can put it in. Please yourself. But we really don't want it to go off. And I'm saying that having not fixed my phone yet, so it goes off by itself. The Tough Love book that Peter has written is on the tables out the front, and they will be for sale during the lunch break from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. They're $50 each. I've got one. I highly recommend it. If you have any interest whatsoever in seeing people healed of this mongrel drugs, you need to read that to understand Peter. And I tell you, it's a very good book. Worth everything. It's now my pleasure to firstly recognise Amanda, who's Peter's wife, and Miranda, who's his PA. They are terrific. And our man of the moment today, Peter Jones.
How you going, good? Yeah. How you going, good? Yeah. Nice and loud. Yeah. Hey, what I'm trying to do is I want to try and fill up the front seats a bit. So if that's possible, just so it's back, I really apologise to you. We just want trying to come down in front a bit if you can slightly. Just to fill up the front, especially those up that back far corner pocket. I don't mean a big pain in the pickle, but that's just part of who I am. It just makes it a lot easier, makes it more interactive. So here has somebody caught up in addiction, put your hand up. Nice and high. That's good. Right, so I'll give you a bit of an intro on myself. I have a lot of problems following these things, so if I stuff it up, I apologise. I'm going to go all over the shop. It's going to be a bit sloppy, but it's going to make sense to you. I'm a bit of a different vessel. So we're going to go all over the shop, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. I encourage you, if you've got a pad and a piece of paper, those things there look like they're going to be pretty cool for you to actually take some notes and ask some questions. Because if it ain't covering something, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask me as many questions as you want. I'm going to make sure that you're going to go home today completely equipped and powered. I'm going to beat the living crap out of you. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. I'm going to make a lot of you cry. Yeah, I'm going to do a bit of a pain in the bum. I warn you in advance, so most people think in their brains what I say with my mouth. I'm an extremely tactless person. I don't mean to be tactless. I used to wonder why growing up I always hurt people. I didn't mean to hurt people, I just said what I thought. And I'd always gone away feeling bad, but now I figured out why I am like I am. I am like I am because of the job that I have to do. I've got 120 fellas in my house. I've got 120 of your loved one at its worst. I reckon I've got a bit of a job on my hands. Yeah. And I'm doing it all with no money. Which is another thing. You don't really need the money. I reckon the bloke is where he is because of his choices, and I don't believe us as the taxpayer or society or the community should pay for another person's stupidity. And so what we do is we provide a safe place for them to make right choices, and as they make right choices, they pay for their own rehab. So it should be. Yeah. Who reckons? Yeah. Down here. Yeah. We're going to go a lot of different places. We're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. We're going to explain about how to class a person of addiction, the different stages of addiction. We're also going to show you how to set boundaries for yourself so you don't get yourself in a bit of a pickle. We're going to show you how you can actually tell a person what sort of stage, not only stage of addiction they're at, but what sort of substance they're using. We're also going to show you how to speed up the process to get a person to a point of wanting to change because they want to make the decision to change, not because somebody else is telling them to change. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Yeah. Now we've got this little note thing. If it looks like I'm a bit distracted, on the seventh day, God created the Apple product. And if you have a Samsung Galaxy, we call that a niche mark. If you have an Apple product, hey, we're alright. But me and my team, my woman over here is my beautiful woman Amanda. We've been married 27 years. She's my princess. I tell her daily everywhere I go, even this morning, that she makes my heart flatter. She's special and that she matters to me. You're going to hear our story. I put my woman through a lot of stuff. I call her my woman, she's my woman. But I put my woman through a lot of stuff that men should actually put their woman through. She grew up in Wongan Hills, a country girl, a geek, a normal person, and then she met me and I stuffed her up. But we're going to be trying to communicate with you, so if I forget something, if I'm doing something wrong, they're going to type a note on here and I'm going to see the note and I'm going to say, oops. Because if she types on hers, it shows up on mine. So I'm going to get it cut off. So I'm going to try and follow these notes. But hey, I want to thank honestly, where are you, Marty Whitfield? I can't tell you a light in my face. They got it for you. Marty and Graham, and Marty's wife, they've done a really exceptional job in actually putting this together. And
Sorry, mate, I'm
there it is, fella. Give him a hand, will you? They've done a really exceptional job in putting this together, like over and above. If there's a 1 out of 10, he's broke the mercury. He's actually really done an over and above effort on you, Marty. Really good job, bro. We had to make right from the beginning. So what we're going to do is we're going to chuck a lot of stuff out there. We're going to show you a whole heap of stuff. You're going to get that much information today, it's going to be off the charts. But please, I encourage you to write your questions down. I'm pretty sure I'm going to answer them all. Oh, we've got a tick list. I can't get that on the board. But what we're going to do, I'll share a bit about my background. Firstly, up the back of that top there, if you have a look at that exit sign, have a size that exit, see that crack on the left hand side? Right, so you're really, really close. There we are, thanks. I just had to finish the cup of tea. Not worth people watch it go to dribbles down your face. It's a bit of a distraction, so I can finish my cup before it gets cold. They reckon laughter makes releases endorphins in the inside, it puts a bit of life in you. And when you're getting at my age, I need a bit of laughter. Most of them are laughing in my belly. Got a stick on my backside that says, caution, wide load, take care without overtaking. Rightio, enough of the humour. Rightio, there we go. So I went out to Kalgoorlie Jail yesterday. I had a yarn with the fellas and there was about 160 blokes in there. There's been 160 blokes in there. God, I felt at home. I did. And a lot of fellas I grew up with was in there. I seen one fella, Angus. Another fella, Hensley Green. I was a bloke from up to Kimberley. But I remember as a 9-year-old, I was in Longmore, I was 9, and him and Hensley and Wombley, they stole this car, and one sat on the seat while the other one stood on the floor doing the pedals. But he's still in jail. There's a lot of fellas out in that jail that I knew that I actually grew up with and done jail with and stuff. But I actually felt really at home in jail. And it was a good day yesterday. With my background, I spent 26 years in institutions and prisons. Is this playing up on me? Yeah. So I spent 26 years in institutions and prisons. I got trapped in a world that I didn't want to be in. And what people don't realise, it's not as easy as just saying stop using drugs. If we're going to have a problem with this, we might have to solve it for another one. You received that right?
Yeah. I've got another one, yeah.
Okay. What battery's that?
That's charged.
Okay. So I spent 26 years in institutions and prisons. And I got trapped in a world that I didn't want to be in, but I didn't know how to get out of it. It's not as easy as just saying stop using drugs. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all over the place. This thing here, I went to 16 different schools, by the way. I only made grade 6, can't read and write, so I like drawing in pictures. Now, if I was to draw a circle here, for example, draw a circle here. What was your name? Georgia. So this circle represents Georgia's life, and this is Georgia. Sorry to use this, sweetie. Sorry to use you as an example. It's a nice example. I'm not saying you're fat, by the way. Otherwise, I might get a bit of a pickle. So this is Georgia's life. And this is Georgia, and this is Peter. Now, who do you reckon would be more qualified? Who would you reckon would be more qualified to see what's happening in Georgia's life? Georgia or Peter? Hands up for Georgia. Hands up for Peter. Peter's have it. It's a person on the outside of the circle, actually. I can see behind her, in front of her, to the left of her, to the right of her, and I can also see inside her. Actually see. And sometimes it takes the person on the outside of the circle to show the person on the inside what it is they can't see. Now I've got a lot of slang. If you go to China, what language do they use? If they go to Italy, what language do they use? If you go to Serbia, what language do they use? Serbian. Come from where I come from. Ducks, nuts, bees, knees, kudo, filthy, off the charts, motherless, nothing that could be our mother. Filthy. That's my language. So if I say words that actually you can't understand, I've got a lot of street slang, so please forgive me. I remember when I got nuked, I tried to be like the geeks, the normal people. Maybe it's the back getting in the way of the receiver. Sorry, I'll read that to you. I'm going to draw a little man and try it. Sorry, no picture. That's great. I got the confidence to get swimming too. That's really what I got. going to be drawing lots of little pictures like this, trying to explain it and stuff. Now, I've got to explain the religious bit. Firstly, I don't want to be rude to you, I don't want to be disrespectful to that. I don't want to be rude to you, I don't want to be disrespectful, I don't want to devalue you, and I don't want to push religion down your throat. I literally can't stand it myself. But it's really important I explain the religious bit from the beginning. That you're not just a fart in the wind. What? I'm going to nickname you Giggles. I reckon today you can be Giggles. You're not just a fart in the wind. Some of us may just leave a stink for a season and disappear in the air, but I reckon that vapor's going to go somewhere. So how do you communicate what you know to be true without pushing religion down people's throat? I'm not a religious fella. I can't stand it. A religious fella to me, from my dictionary, from where I come from, a religious fella is one that runs around saying fish, chips and salt every second word. The F is for fish, the C is for chips, and the S is for salt. You get what I'm saying? Yes. Fish, chips and salt. A religious fella runs around saying fish, chips and salt every second word. Tells everybody to do what they don't do themselves. Diggy dig, boom, 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 and goes to church once a week. To me, that's a religious fellow. They lie, they steal, they cheat. I mean, they go, who's met one of them? Put your hand up. Go on, everybody interact here. We all have. And then you got the other mob over here. They're the Christianese mob. They run around saying, hallelujah, praise the Lord, glory to God, this, glory that. And they set the standard of Christianity so high, I don't want to be like that. That's too hard for me. I like who I am, I believe what they believe, but no, I can't be like that. Who's been one of them? Now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but when you come from where I've come from, it's just too hard. 0 to 100 and a half a second flat, how long did it take them to get to the moon? It took a long time, I don't think you can do it in a day. And then you got these other mob down here. They're the general, I don't give a flying flopper. If it works for you, it's okay, I'm a good person, my granny was like that. I remember she was laying in the hospital bed and I was telling her about God and stuff, and then trying to explain some stuff. And I says, come on, Granny, haven't you ever done anything sexual and immoral? She says, oh, son, don't talk like that. I'm a good person, I've never hurt anybody. I love my Granny. The challenge is, how do you communicate what you know to be true without pushing religion down someone's throat? I promise you I'm not going to do that here today. I'm just going to flap at the gums and we're just going to have a yarn. But when I got nuked, and I'm telling you I got nuked, when I got nuked, I went from 0 to 100, and I went from 0 to 1,000 and a half a second flat. When you live the life that I've lived, and when what happened to you, like what happened to me, you will never ever be the same again. I literally went from 0 to 1,000, and I was determined to tell everybody what I knew, and I would push it down your throat. They called me what they call a God botherer. They would see me come in this direction, boy, and they went right to them, and they ran. And what I didn't realise, I was actually doing more harm than good. I got no right pushing what I believe down anyone's throat in any way, shape or form. If you want to see what I believe, you should see it by the way that I live my life. That my actions speak louder than my words. Shut my mouth and live my faith. It's not okay to lie, it's not okay to steal, it's not okay to cheat, it's not okay to do lots and lots of stuff. But where you come from, where I've come from, it's okay to do whatever I wanted. If I wanted, I took it. If I wanted to stick an arm, I stuck an arm. If I want to smoke, I smoke it. Everything that's accepted of me is accepted of me. Might have not been accepted to everybody else, but it was to me and it was okay. You can't take a person from 0 to 100 and a half a second flat. But when I got nuked, I did get nuked, and I'm telling you, I got nuked. I had an encounter with the ground moving, a whole heap of freaky stuff happened. And he got my attention. I've learnt more in the last, 5 years. It's 5 years this month. It's 5 years this month that I run in Shalom House. It's 15 years since I've been a geek. I've been a geek now 15 years. Just to define the word geek, to me a geek is a normal, productive member of society living free from the influence of drugs and substances. I don't drink, I don't smoke it, and all that sort of jazz. I'm just going to get my rubber that because it's peeving me off. So we get the religious side of it, we're all up on the page there. Can't hear? Yes. Right, yeah. Well, let's get back to little Freddie here. We're going to call him Fred for your sake. Now you're out of the picture. You like that? So I'm going to share a bit of my background. Now it's really important to understand my background so you can understand your background. It's really important to understand my background so not only can you understand your background, But you can understand your mum's background, your dad's background, your kid's background, your family's background, the person next to you. And by the way, if you want to look good about yourself right now, I want you to look at the person next to you. Yeah, doesn't that make you feel good? And they're just screwed up with what you are. If I ever want to feel good about myself, I just look to the left. Oh, sorry. See, they're not just a part in the wind. I'm just going to be transparent with you. Most people think in their brains what I say with my mouth. Honestly, I am a straight shooter. I'm probably the most straightforward shooter person you'll ever get. I don't care if you like me in any way, shape or form. I don't really care if anyone likes me. I got in front of the prison yesterday and I had 160 of them fellas in there. I said, straight, I don't care if you like me in any way, shape or form. I don't care if you want to put a shotgun on me and blow my brains out. Couldn't even care. Not even one sly iota, mate. I am the biggest prick you'll ever meet in your life and I'm proud of it. I don't care what you think of me, but I really love you. I really care about you. I'm not here because I hate you, I'm here because I care about you. Everything I'm saying to you today is because I care. I spent 26 years of my life in a world that I didn't want to be and I didn't know how to get out. Now I found a way out. And it's not about religion. Now, this little fat man is me. Apparently I'm 98 kilos. I must be getting fat because she bought me a Fitbit, fat bit. So I'm telling you something. Now, my story is I'm the second oldest of 5 kids. I grew up in Lockridge. Well, that was good. Telstra ad. That must say Bubba got the Telstra of the Year award. So if you're watching Telstra right now, that was a plug for you. But I'm the second eldest of 5 kids. I grew up in Lockridge, or started growing up in Lockridge. But I moved around literally every 3 months of my life. So I can't remember much from the age from 7 onwards, but at the age of 7, I remember Dad and Mum, they went out for a night, and us kids stayed at home, and the lady who was a couple of doors up was our babysitter. And she looked after her kids. Mum and Dad went out and they used to drink a bit and had their fun and come home. I remember waking up in the morning and all I could hear was screaming and yelling and carrying on. And it turns out the lady who was babysitting got locked out of the house, and Dad slept with the babysitter. And that's probably not a good idea when you've got 5 kids and married. But Dad slept with his chick, and I remember hearing all the yelling and the screaming. I walked down to my bedroom, and there was Mum with his pot as Dad was walking down the stairs, threw this pot and kinged him fair in the back of the head. And that was the last time my dad was at home. He moved out. He went and moved into the Eden Hill Hotel, and he stayed at the back of this hotel. And I remember as a kid, I used to go and see my dad at the motel heaps. I really loved my dad. I loved my dad. I really loved my dad. And every day on the way to school, I'd pedal in and stop in and see Dad and say, Dad, do you want anything from the shops? And he'd give me $10, and he said, yeah, son, grab us a loaf of bread and a packet of fags, and keep the change. I went and got a loaf of bread and a packet of fags, and then he said, keep the change, son. And I go to school, I felt pretty special. I remember as a 7-year-old laying back on the bed watching the Anzac Day for movie things on the TV in the motel room and stuff. And I'd done that for like 4 months. And then one day on the way to school, I knocked on the door, and I knocked on the door. And then I knocked on the door again, and there's no answer. And I got on a pushy, always used to answer. Got on a pushy, and I thought, oh, better go to school. And then I seen the gardener in the car park, and I said to the gardener, I said, hey, have you seen my dad? He said, your dad, he moved out yesterday, he doesn't live here anymore. And I remember when he said that, I felt something like a wave of rejection or something going from here, and it landed into my heart. I'm going to put this over here. It landed into my heart, and I felt something go from the head to the bottom. We're going to put that on auto lock so it doesn't lock. Now your heart, you're actually your hard drive. Now out of the heart flow the issues of life, or out of the heart flow the consequences of life. Out of the heart the mouth speaks. What's in a person actually operates through a person. The second you pop out your old cheese's tummy, you begin to be programmed. Who doesn't know what old cheese means? Well, you know. Old cheese, your mum. Some of you Kraft, some of you Cheddar, some of you Swift. God forbid for the ones that are black cheese. And mouldy, you've got to go thick for a little bit. But it tastes really yummy. And my favourite is black cheese. But I got a lot of slang against that. I apologise if I offend you. But the second you pop out your old cheese's tummy, you begin to be programmed. You reckon it's funny, don't you? You begin to be programmed, and how you program? You're programmed by the way that mum is mum. and dad is dad. The way that dad models fatherhood in the home, you're actually being programmed. The way that dad treats his wife and loves on his wife and speaks life into her and say, you're beautiful, you're loved, you're gorgeous, especially, you mean a lot to me, you make my heart flutter. Or you're fish chips and salt. That kid is actually being programmed. The way the dad is in the community is also being programmed. Phone lady's going to get in trouble. But then we go to schools. When we go to school, there's certain kids who hang around with us in the schoolyard. You're also being programmed. The way the kids speak in the yard and the way the teacher teaches, you're being programmed. Who would agree? As you live life, you face circumstances that you do and you don't create. And as you face those circumstances, you implement patterns of behaviour, ways to communicate, ways to express how you feel. You implement what you have to that works for you and it becomes part of who you are. Would you agree?
Yes.
All of us also face circumstances that we do and we don't create. And when we face those circumstances, depending on what those circumstances are, we set boundaries in our life to protect ourselves, to stop ourselves going through certain things. And if it works for us, again, it becomes part of who we are. We are all being programmed. My program started going skew-iffy from what I could see from the age of 9, but it actually went skew-iffy from a long time before then, because how my mum and my dad was, as I watched them, so I became. A lot of us say we don't want to be by parents. That's why it's really important. The biggest responsibility you ever have with your life is to bring up a child in the way that child should go, so they'll not depart from it. Myself personally, the best thing I've ever done with my life is got the snip. No more for me. I've had 3 kids. I've got 4 grandchildren. Chop chop, no more. All my 3 kids are geeks. They're normal. They're good quality men. My daughter's a princess. They're sound. They're solid. Man, it was hard bringing up a kid. It's a big responsibility. Second you have that child, your role should stop be looking at you. You should be looking at them. You have a responsibility to bring that child up in the way that that child should go. Until the day that child takes the right for you to speak into its life at the age of 14 or 15, your responsibility is to that child. Not for your fluffies and for your husbands and for what makes you feel good. When my dad took off at the age of 7, my life started going drifting. My program started going really, really bad. Mentally, I blocked off everything before the age of 7. But between the age of 7 and 9, a lot of stuff happened. I started seeing stuff little kids shouldn't actually see. Now, depending on a person's program, depending on what they would call these dudes over here, let's say this over here. There's Eleanor D, life and death. Some people call the light. Some people call the light God. Some people call the light a higher power. Some people call the light. Some people call the light, well, I think something's up there. And if something's up there, well, I reckon he would be good. Who would agree?
Yeah.
Well, depending on your program, you call it whatever you want, I don't care. We've all been programmed differently. What's really real for you, if it's real for you, it's real for me. We have no right pushing what we believe down anyone's throat. The best way to communicate what you believe is to live it. Then your actions would speak louder than your words. But there's a light and there's a dark, there's a good, there's a bad, there's a God and there's a devil. Some people call the light, some people call the light higher power, some people call the light God, some people call the light... Well, I think something's up there, but everybody agrees that if the light would be light, he would be good. Love in its purest form, truth in its purest form, honesty, integrity, gathers together, builds up hope, family. The fullness of everything that is perfectly good, and the source thereof, life. Some people call the D a demon. Some people call the D a devil. Some people call the D a D. Some people call the D a really bad man. Some people call him an absolute prickle. But everybody agrees if the D would be D, or the devil would be the devil, or the D would be a demon, that he would be bad. Unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, anger, hostility, hatred, greed. You're useless, you're a weed, you're no good, you're fat, you're ugly, you don't belong, nobody loves you, you're better off dead. Sexual immorality, judgment, criticism, death. There's a light and there's a dark, there's a good and there's a bad. The second you pop out your old Jesus, tell me we are all being programmed, every one of us. I run a men's rehabilitation centre with 120 plus men in there. I don't have one program. I have 120 plus programs because I have 120 plus programs who all been programmed differently, and what is really real for them is really real for me. What is really real for you is really real for me. But sometimes it takes a person on the outside of the circle, to show the person on the inside what it is they can't see. Does it line up with the light or does it line up with the dark? Depending on how you've been programmed, I promise you, I don't want to push religion down your throat. So we're just going to call it a light and a dark. Is that cool?
Yes.
Now I'm going to show you how the dark got in me. At the age of 7, I seen when my dad took off, it felt like my whole life fell apart. My mum, her drinking started to increase, so did the men that she was with. Everything started seeing going bad. I remember the repo man coming in and taking away the TV, then the radio, then the car, and then bits and pieces. We're living in Scanlon in Lockridge. And then we had to move and moved in with Grandma, and then just lots of stuff started happening. Mum's drinking got worse and worse and worse, lots to do with boyfriend. One in particular, boyfriend she had, and this bloke used to grab my mum. I remember at night time we'd hear him screaming and yelling out in the lounge room. By this time we'd moved to Armidale. They're screaming and yelling out in the lounge room, and all the years screaming and yelling. Stopped, I walked out in the lounge room, I crept out, because I was too scared to come out of my room. I was only 7 or 8, and here's Mum sitting on the end of the lounge with her face covered in blood. She had 2 black eyes, her false teeth were snapped in half, she was bawling her eyes out, and she had her hands like that, and she looked up at me sideways. I've got this image stuck in my brain of my mum crying with the false teeth, trying to glue her false teeth back together with super glue. I see my mum go through stuff as a little boy that little boys shouldn't actually have to see. I had anxiety, bitterness, fear, hatred. Where's my dad? What have you done? Why aren't you here to protect me? Mum, why are you keep going back to this place? Why are you putting us 6 kids, 5 kids through this stuff? Mum gets put in a rehabilitation centre, and all of us kids got split up. Brothers and sisters went to grandma's. That's what's happening. Brothers and sisters, they all go to grandma's. My older sister went with her best friend, and me being the oldest boy, I tried to stay with my mum. All I wanted was to be normal. I wanted to be like them other kids I seen at school. Every time Mum went to rehab, they stuck me with foster families and children's homes and Wansley and places like that. And I kept running away. I just want my mum and my dad. I just want my mum and my dad. And every time my mum would get out of this rehab, she'd go back to the same bloke that used to beat the living crap out of her. And all she did was drink. I was the sort of kid that had to go in the kitchen in the morning on the way to school to get me food out of the cupboard, and all I could see is a loaf of mouldy bread. Bread and milk I used to have for breakfast, or bread and water. Sometimes I have to go to school and pitch other kids' lunches because there was nothing in the cupboard. My mum put drink and all that sort of stuff over me. My program was going skewed, and my dad disappeared. We moved to Goldhill's Caravan Park Village Caravan Park. I was 8 years old, and I'm sitting there in the caravan park, and I met this fellow in the caravan park, and he said, "Hey Peter, do you want to crash over at my house tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I checked with Mum, "Can I do that?" Yep, no worries. Started over at his mate's house tonight, and I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm laying there in bed, frozen solid. And I wake up at 3 o'clock and this man was molesting me. And I was frozen solid, and I was petrified, I couldn't move. And this boy's uncle was doing some stuff to me. I wake up the next day, and I couldn't tell Mum because I couldn't feel she was approachable. I couldn't tell Dad because Dad disappeared. My program's going squiffy. I'm being exposed to stuff that little kids shouldn't have to be exposed to. And I didn't have the tools to actually process or unpack or fix or repair or communicate what it is that I was being exposed to. And what was happening to me, my program was being skewy. I was full of anger and bitterness and resentments. I was confused, I was lost, I just want to be a geek. I don't know where I fit in life. Mum's drinking put her back into rehab again, and this time they stuck me in Parkville Children's Home. Now I ran away from Parkville Children's Home 3 times. The 3rd time they caught me running away from Parkville Children's Home, I was 9 at this stage. The 3rd time they caught me running away from Parkville, they found me sleeping in a Good Samaritan bin at the Middle Gate Shopping Centre. I used to pick the locks and snuggle in amongst the clothes because it was nice and warm. Up until them days, the worst crime I ever committed was grabbing a loaf of bread from outside the shopping centres at 4 o'clock in the morning when the bread man came. Or the milk to stock up my Good Sammy bin for my food. But they caught me sleeping in this Good Samaritan bin, and I remember the coppers caught me and they took me back up to Parky, and I walked into Parkville Children's Home, and as I walked into the children's home, and my dad was sitting here, and my mum was sitting here, and I'm a bit taken back. I'm shocked. I hadn't seen him for 2 years. They didn't unpack anything. They didn't do any counselling with me. They just walked me in the room, and there he was. And this chick says to me, she says, Peter, listen mate, you're wasting our time and our resources. You obviously don't want to be here anymore. You obviously don't want to be here anymore. We're going to give you a choice. You can either go and stay with your dad, or you can go to Longmore. And when she said that, I heard a couple of voices in my head. The D, it whispered to me, it said, he doesn't love you anymore. My brain thought about it, and it checked with all what I believe to be true in my heart. Now, if a person believes a lie as a truth, that lie becomes their truth. There are many parents here today who have separated from their past partners, and your children have seen you split up, and they've had that same voice whisper to them, oh, they don't love me anymore. And that lie has gone from the head into their hearts. If a person believes a lie as a truth, that lie becomes their truth. And that's how the D is getting into people. It's separating families. It's destroying lives. Yeah. That's what happened to me. And I heard this voice that said, he doesn't love you anymore. And I remember saying, yeah, that's right. And then I had this overwhelming anger come in. I told it to come in. I told it to go from my head into my heart. And then I heard this other voice that said, Peter, you're making a mistake. And then I thought, oh, this other voice, nah, stuff him. I thought, yeah, stuff him. Stuff him, I'll get him back. I'll go to Longmore. Now, I had no idea Longmore was a boys' prison. I thought it was just like all the other children's homes, like Warminster and Wansley and Clontarf and all them. I didn't realise it was a boys' prison. So as a 9-year-old boy, they took me to Longmore. I remember I'd never committed any crimes up to then except probably picked a loaf of bread, some milk, or a running a washing machine. But they took me there at 1 o'clock in the morning. I remember they took me into the admin area, done the admin stuff, and then they took me in the ablution block, this Dr. Paul fella. Paul, they stripped me naked, they put nip cream in my hair, they put some crab cream down below. And they gave me 6 comic books and they marched me down a row of prison cells. And then my heart was going 400 miles an hour, I swear it would have popped out my chest. I'm a 9-year-old little boy, and I'm getting put in a prison just because I want my mum and my dad, just because I want to be normal. I was petrified. I opened that prison door and they threw me in that cell and they shut the door shut. And I remember jumping on the bed and I grabbed hold of my pillow and I cried and I rocked side to side. And I said, if you let me out now, behave, I won't run away again. All I want is my mum and my dad. Even now, I'm 46. I lay in bed last night in a motel and I said, woman, where's the other pillow? Most motels you go to, they have a pillow up on the shelf in the cupboard. I'm a 46-year-old man, I still grab hold of my pillow every night and rock side to side to get to sleep. I'm a 9-year-old boy getting put in a prison just because I wanted my mum and my dad. I'm being programmed. All of us, as we live life, we face circumstances that we do and we don't create. And as we face those circumstances, we implement patterns of behaviour, ways to communicate, ways to express how we feel. We set boundaries in our life to get us to where we are today, and if it works for us, it becomes part of who we are. We're being programmed. There is a light in the dark, a good and a bad, a God and a devil. Some people call the light, some people call the light a higher power, some people call the light God, some people call the day a devil, some people call the day an absolute prickle. But what happens is, as you live life and you're being programmed, you have a light on one side, you have a dark on the other side, and what they want to do is they want to get in you to operate through you. And when they're in you, not only do they operate through you, they can form you into who they are. Your thinking starts to change, your speech starts to change, who you are as a person starts to change. What happens in you not only operates through you, it affects all those around you. You're not just a fart in the wind. When you croak it, some of you are going to leave the stick for a season. But that little vapor's going somewhere. And if it's going to the D, I wouldn't be giggling. A lot of Christianese people or religious people, not religious people, wipe them off the planet, they're going to be in a bit of a pickle. But a lot of Christianese people try to communicate what they know to be true in the best way that they know how. This other little dude over here with the horns on it, he's a yellow, but he's a half truth. He's a bit of a dodgy character. He uses a bit of both to achieve what he wants, but he doesn't line up with the L. How do you communicate what you know to be true without pushing religion down someone's throat? Now, that 3 months in that prison cell, as I was lying back in that cell, I heard this voice that said to me, Peter, you're alone. You're going to have to look after yourself from now on. Now I remember as a 9-year-old kid I made a vow to myself, and I said from this day forward I'm going to look after me. Now I spent 3 months in that jail, and in that 3 months I finally had a family. I finally found a place where I fitted. In that 3 months I had lots and lots of kids in there. There were kids in there at ages 6, 7, 10, 9, 12, 15, 16, even kids up to the age of 18. And all these kids in this place, they all had stories exactly like mine. How mum and dad had done this, mum and dad had done that, mum had done this, dad had done that. They faced circumstances they couldn't create, or they didn't create, but they made a choice like me. A lot of your children are where they are today because of the decisions that you've made. You have lived life. You have made decisions. And then you get to the age where I did, where all of a sudden I realised what I did was wrong. But what you don't realise, as you made those decisions, your children had watched on as you have lived your life. Your children have watched on as you have made those mistakes. Your children have seen the decisions that you've made and what you've done. And then you come to the point where all of a sudden you realise what I've done was wrong. But what you don't realise, the deed has got into your child. And you are the last person they will listen to. Pretty confronting, eh?
Yes.
It's scary. I've learned more in the last 5 years running this rehabilitation centre than I have in my whole life. I feel like I'm in a science fiction movie. A lot of us, we get to a certain age and we realise what we've done and we stuffed up. And we think that we're okay now. We have the right to teach our kids to do what we shouldn't have done. But the problem is there's stuff in them, there's anger in them, there's bitterness in them, there's resentment in them. And you're the last person they're going to listen from. I know how to get that back out of them. I spent 3 months in that place, and in that 3 months, like I said to you, I met a lot of kids who had stories like mine, but they became my family. I got out of that place, went to another children's home, and I met some of the kids in that place, and I started to break into houses, I started stealing cars, I started sticking pics of arms. I became what they call institutionalised. I spent my whole childhood locked up from the age of 9 to 18. But I was out for a month, back in for 11 months, out for 11 months, out for a month, back in for 6 months, out for day once, back in for another 9 months. I spent 7 years in a row locked up in Longmore. I graduated Riverbank, I spent 18 months straight in Riverbank. And then I graduated prisons in 1991. I was at that time in all the prisons in Western Australia. And up until the time that I got nuked, I was selling 2.5 kilos of methamphetamines a day. Heaps of guns, heaps of drugs, heaps of stupid stuff. I've run around Australia 7 times running for myself. Wherever I went, I went. I met my woman over there and she came from the Wongan Hills, country girl. I stuffed her like up to the age of 18. She had no idea what she was getting hands into. I got out of jail in 2001. 2000 after doing 1 year with 3 at wax. And I thought, stuff I've been sticking pics of arms and selling drugs for that long, it's not funny, I might as well do it for a living. So I started doing it for a living. Within 3 months, I was selling an average of 2.5 kilos of meth a day, the purest meth you get your hands on. I was doing 9 mils, 44 Glock, C4 dynamite, man, I had everything, pencil guns, you name it, little tiny 22 spraying in the box and silence, you shoot him, you can't even hear him, just like passing the wind, that's silent. I got up one day after 16 days no sleep, at a massive bender, mate crash, pulls on the driveway, helicopter comes over the roof. I had a 1-year-old child that I hardly even knew because I spent the first year of his life in jail. Missus gets out of bed, butt naked, coppers come through, shotguns, bulletproof vest, puts a gun to her head, put her on the floor. I got waited, I got done with a pound pot, 2 handguns and a whole heap of other stuff. I got out of bail. I was under really heavy surveillance because of the people that I was mixing with. And then over a period of 3 weeks, I got nuked, and my God, did I get nuked. I got nuked. I got literally nuked. And when I got nuked, my life began to change. I got 180 turned around. Out of those 26 years of institutions and prisons, I'm not saying that I physically spent 26 years in prison. But even when I wasn't in prison, I was still in prison. Everybody that I feel comfortable around was doing what I didn't want to do. I try to hang around the geeks of the normal people, like you mob, or like a lot of you mob. You all project an image that I see that says you're normal. But inside, I'm a weed. I'm useless. I don't fit. I can't be like you. You're better than me. So I go back to where I feel comfortable. But the problem is, where I feel comfortable, everyone's doing what I don't want to do. I'm trapped. You can take the prisoner out of prison, but then you've got to get the prisoner out of the prisoner. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of us don't want to be who we are. We've got all these geeks. Well, stop using drugs. Oh, hang on a second. I'm full of anger and bitterness and resentment. Where's my mum? Where's my dad? Why did that man molest me? Oh, my God. What's in a person operates through a person. A lot of you sitting here today, you've done a lot of stuff in your life that you've never told anybody. You've kept it to yourself. It's in the cupboard. The door is shut. Nobody else knows, so you keep it in your heart. A lot of the voices that you get in your brain, they're not your voices. They're introduced voices, and they're whispering, trying to bring temptation into your life. But you're too scared to bring what's in you out in the open. Imagine what people will think of me. So you just keep the door shut. Your heart. The Christians, churches. If the Church of God was like Hungry Jack's, it'd be choppers. When you go to Hungry Jack's, you know what you're getting. Whopper double beef with cheese, have mayonnaise, have ketchup. Me, I have Whopper double beef, DP, cut in half, extra pickle. I'm not allowed anymore because I've got a fat bit on. Measures my calories. If the Church of God was like Hungry Jack's, it'd be choppers. But it's not, it's different. There's like over 100 programs, 120 programs, soon to be 220 programs. Oh, I'm going to do a pickle. It's one thing to catch a fish, and there's a lot of fishies sitting in churches and they're not being cleaned. They all predict an image that people perceive, but inside, I'll spoil it, keep it sharp, it's filthy. It's one thing to catch a fish, it's another thing to clean a fish. The hardest thing I ever did with my life was become a Christian. All of a sudden, everything that was acceptable to me wasn't acceptable to him. Me and him, we had a bit of an arm wrestle. And to tell you the truth, it really pissed me off. Apologise, God, but you did. He actually won. I wasn't me sitting here. But you don't want to learn the hard way. Me, I learned the hard way. You don't want to go through what I went through. I learned more in the last 5.5 years. Running 5 years, running this rehab than I have in my whole life. I didn't realise what was in me was operating through me. Now, when you do that for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 15 years, 20 years, the quickest way to fix the problem is to stick a pick in your arm and smoke a pipe and pop a pill. But when you've done that for 20 years, and then all of a sudden you want to take away my coping mechanism, what do I do with the bit that's inside me? I want to try and hang around the geeks and the normal people, so I've got to get off my face, and I'll come around there and I'll have the Christmas party, and because they're all have plenty too. And then it's the quicker I get out of there, the better. Because they're all judging me, I'm the black sheep of the family, I don't belong. Who's got somebody like that? Now I'm going to practice some stuff. Martin, yep. Now someone's not ticking my hoodoo grass. Are you ticking my hoodoo grass? Make sure you tick my hoodoo grass. My hoodoo grass is this little tick thing that we're trying to practice on. Who knows what a hoodoo grass is? A hoodoo grass is whatever you want it to be. You can call it whatever you want. If you look at something and say, where's that hoodoo grass? So, yeah. How to recognise a person out of class addiction. I think I've got a category here. We'll try this on here. Look. Make it look really flash that we're using this thing. I'm putting that before together and I'll use it. Background. There we go. A, B, C, D, E, F. Man, you're on the like it. Great interaction. You can class addiction in 5 categories, right? I specialise in addiction. Having spent 26 years, I've been addicted to every drug there is. Because I didn't like having very much. I had a shot once and just knocked me out cold, make up 48 hours later, and then what happened? But you can class addiction in 5 categories. You have an A, a B, a C, a D, and an E. And how you help an A, well, that's a good idea. Can I go come and I'm really fussy, sweetie. She's better off making, otherwise I have to tell you off. I am really, really fussy. I don't mean to be that way, but I am fussy. I hate it. But you class addiction in 5 categories. You have an A, a B, a C, a D, and E. How you help an A is different than how you help a B. You can't actually help a C and a D, and an E, well, there's 3 types of E's. Often families think they're doing the right thing, but in actual fact they're doing the wrong thing. I specialise in addiction. I specialise in 2 things mainly. One is showing the person how they can change their life. No one can change you except for you. No one can change me except for me. We are where we are because of our choices. Sure, we all face circumstances that we do and we don't create, and when we face those circumstances, We are the ones that make the choices that determine the direction of our life. And I spent most of my life blaming everybody else for why I was like I was. No, I was where I was because of the choices that I made. Yes, I faced circumstances that I didn't create, but I was the one that made the choice to head my life in a direction. I was the one that chose to have unforgiveness and bitterness and resentment. I was the one. I take full responsibility for my actions. I have nobody else to blame except for me. Yes, my parents did make a bit of a pickle. I loved my parents. I honour my mum. I loved my mum. I loved my dad. Them, like me, they lived a life. Me, I will take responsibility for my actions. Now, this addiction, how you help an A and how you help a B and how you help a C, and you can, and three, well, there's three types of E's. We're going to go through each one. I'm going to show you how addiction starts. Now, I've just painted a story, and I've used that story pretty much like my story. Now, an A, for example. Let's chuck a hypothetical story. We're supposed to bring up our children in the way that they should go, so they won't depart from it. We're supposed to, as parents, when we jiggy-jig and get all these fluffies and have a baby, we're supposed to come alongside that child and bring that child up in the way that it would go. And there's a certain point in its life where that child will take the right for you to speak into its life away from you. And until that time, you have an obligation to actually equip, to empower, to strengthen, to impart, to build up, to encourage that child to be able to live a life that's productive, to be a productive member of society. We have an obligation to do that. Now, my son, I never had a dad. And the hardest thing I ever did with my life was trying to be a dad when I never had a dad. And I remember, I honestly never sat at a kitchen table my whole life until I got nuked. And when I got nuked, that was hard, trying to sit there with a bunch of geeks at the table having a feed together. I spent most of my life in my shed. I used to see my 6-year-old boy from a distance, and as long as I seen him at a distance, I never even kicked a foot in with him, never done nothing with him. Even my 1-year-old, even my woman, I just stuck out my shed and done my thing. My home is my shed. I gave him no time. I just done my thing. And when I got nuked, all of a sudden I had to start learning stuff. And I'm thinking, man, this dad stuff's too hard for me. And when I was trying, and I kept being accountable to my son and all this and stuff, I remember once we moved over to West Swan, and I remember sitting at the kitchen table when we were having a food, we all sit down with Grace, and Amanda was sitting there, my son Pete was sitting over here, my young son Ryan was sitting there, and I'm sitting there having a feed, and I lifted my leg and I dropped my guts and let this fella rip. It was a corker. We all laughed at the table and thought it was really, really funny, and we just kept eating tea. It was a corker, and the next day I'm sitting there, right, and we're having a feed, and then my son Pete, I think he was 9, he lifted his leg and he dropped his guts and he let this fella rip. I'm going to tell us that it is, please don't be offended with me, sweeties. But he lifted his guts and he done what he did. And I remember his face, he looked up at me. He said, was that good, Dad? And then I started bawling my eyes out crying. I'm so sorry, sweetie. It's not okay to do that. It's not okay. As I am, my son will be. He's doing that in front of his mum. We can all sit back and have a good laugh at a young bloke dropping his guts in front of his mother. But this is a lady and she needs to be treated like one. It's not okay for my son to dishonour his mum like that. And for me, when I seen my boy do that, it was a big wake-up call. From that day forward, I took being a dad serious. I got a responsibility to bring my son up in the way that it go. Otherwise, my son, he's going to be like me. And I don't want him going down that road. That's a painful road. It's a road that's hard to break free from. It's a road full of pain and hurt. It's a road that's full of misery and sorrow, loneliness. It's a road where you just hurt people. So from that day forward, I took fatherhood seriously. I put a lot of time into my son. I tried my best to start to be accountable to my son. I used to go back to my son 100 times in a day and say, son, I'm really sorry for the way that I am as a dad. I really failed as a father. I'm not one of them dads that kicks the footy. I kick it like a Sheila. I don't know how to kick a footy. And I took ownership of all the mistakes. I asked my son to forgive me for the way that I have been as a dad. And I gave my son the right to speak into my life and help me to be the best dad I could. And every time I stuffed up and made mistakes, I'd tell him, I'd go up and I'd punish my son, I'd walk away and I'd hear his voice, get back there and apologise, you're too hard on him. And I'd go back there and adjust it, and then I'd walk away again and I'd adjust it again, and I had about 4, 5, 6, 10 times until finally that I got it right. There is a scripture that the wisdom of God, or the wisdom of the light, is in the heart of a man and a woman. There's this little voice inside you that tells you what's right and what's wrong. It's like when you go shopping at Coles and you load all your goodies in the trolley, and you pack all your stuff and you go to the car park and you put all your gear in the car, and then you push the trolley aside and you go jump in the car, and one voice says, get back there and put the trolley back. And the other one didn't have stuff and they didn't pay for that. Well, that voice, right there, you have a choice. You have a choice. You can be part of the solution, or you can be part of the problem. I teach my fellows in the house to listen to that voice that says, get back there and apologise. Get off your bum and walk and take that trolley back. It's like walking past a piece of rubbish. And this is what I walk past, pick it up. No, I didn't put it there. Pick it up. You turn it up, bugger. Once I drove, I was funny, driving up the street and I was out in the middle of nowhere, and somebody must have truckload of rubbish. And I drove past this rubbish and would have been a good U-load, and I heard this voice go back and pick it up. And I said, no, stop it. I got a 15-cart road and I had to turn around and go back and pick up every bit of rubbish on that road. But I taught myself how to start learning to listen to that voice. That was a voice that led me to be a good dad. It taught me to be a good dad. It taught me to be a good husband to my wife. It taught me to actually take ownership of my mistakes. It taught me how to manage my funds, and it taught me how to live the life that I know that the life of God would want me to live. I tried to teach my boys, and I took ownership. I remember at the age of 15 once, my son, I'd done my best up to that point, and I remember my son Pete, one day he says, Dad, can I go stay at my mate's house tonight? And I said, no you can't, son. And he stuck his chest out like this little penguin. Oh, you little bugger. And he stuck his chest out, and he challenged my authority. Oh, you little bugger. But then I seen something. This little square is my home. He challenged my authority, and he says, and I said to him, I said, son, yesterday you asked me to stay at Christian's house for the night. And I see that he challenged my authority, and I want you to tell you, that's just not okay. This is my home. This is not any mum's home, but what I recognise, son, is you're saying, Dad, you've done a good job bringing me up until now. You've done the best you could, but I want to learn to put into practice what you taught me. And for me, I recognise that fact. And I said, well, son, from this day forward, my role in your life is going to change. I'm going to release you, son, from my authority. From this day forward, I want to release you to make your decisions. Every decision you make is a consequence. You're going to face circumstances that you do and you don't, you grow. And as you face those circumstances, you're going to have to make a choice, son. My job from this day forward is not to control you, I'm releasing you. When you face those circumstances that you do and you don't create, you come to me, I'm going to give you the wisdom, the counsel that you want. But at the end of the day, the decision you make is going to bear fruit in your life. And you need to be prepared to suffer the consequences. Sometimes we make a wrong choice, son. But you're going to have to suffer them consequences to teach you. My job from this day forward is to be there for you in a way that I need to be, not in the way that you want me to be. And I said, me and your mum, we worked hard for this home, boy. You want to stay in my home, this is what we want. We want love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, meekness. We want honesty. I want you to honour your mum. I don't want bad stuff in my house. I don't want you to ever use drugs or alcohol on or off my property, ever, as long as you're living under my roof. Is that understood? He says, yes, Dad. And I said, son, I also want you to promise me one thing. If you're ever going to smoke a cone or have a beer, I want you to please, son, please ask first. I don't ever want you to use drugs at all, full stop, at all, because this is what happened to me. But if you're ever going to have a beer, would you please just ask me first? He goes, yeah, Dad, I promise. And I said, son, I don't want you to do it until you're after 18. My son, at the age of 17 and a half, and he had 18, 4 months before he turned 18, he came up to me and says, Dad, I'm turning 18 in 3 months. Me and a few mates are going to have an 18th birthday party together, and we're thinking about combining it. But Dad, we're going to have alcohol there. And when my son came up to me and said that, I nearly cried. He honoured what he did for 3 years beforehand. He said, Dad, we're going to have alcohol there. And I said to him, son, you know how I feel about alcohol and drugs and substances and stuff. And at the moment, you're about to turn 18, you're about to turn the legal age of addiction. You're a role model in the community, son. You're about to send a message to a lot of kids. I don't think it's okay for an 18-year-old, just because you turn 18, and it's legal for you to drink to start by having a beer. But whatever you decide, son, I choose to support you. You're a man now. But you know that this is my home, I can't have alcohol here. But whatever you choose to do, so it's okay with me. My son had alcohol at his 18th birthday. He didn't have it at my house. They had it at his mate's house up in the hills. They had a great night. He drinks responsibly, hard lemon drinks. But he came to me. I brought up my child in the way that he would go. I done my best to teach him. I also sat my son down and I said, son, I never had a dad. And the hardest thing, and one of the hardest things besides becoming a Christian, is trying to be a dad. But over the course of my life, I've made many mistakes, son. And with me and you, and your son, and with your brother Ryan, I'll fix probably 60% or 70% of the mistakes that my dad didn't do with me. And I really need to ask a favour from your son. He goes, what's that? I said, son, when you have a child, can you please finish the last 30%? And my son's married, got married 4 months back. She's pregnant. And I'm praying with all my heart, my son will finish the last third of those stuff off. If you know my son is a man of integrity. I'm proud to call my son my son. Every morning I run up the corridor and I just melt into his arms and I give him a cuddle. I love my boys. I make my heart flood a bit like my wife. Life is hard. Now I've painted you a story. We're supposed to bring up our children in the way that they go so they don't part from it. You class addiction in 5 categories. Now depending on how mum and dad would be, often mum and dad, when mum and dad come together, mum and dad have lots of anger and unforgiveness and bitterness because of how they've been programmed from their parents. What's in them operates through them. What happens is when they meet, they get the fluffies for a season. And then they jiggy and pop out a couple of bubs. And then all of a sudden what's in them starts operating through them. And then one day they'll roll over and go, oh, it's you. And I didn't realise until after the fluffies had gone. But by then they popped out a couple of kids. And when it gets too hard, they just chop it aside and they just go to the next one. Fluffies, jiggy jig, bubby bubby, oh it's you, and let's do it again. This is where our society's going. And it's not okay. You're grown adults. When you get married, it is for better or for worse, to death do us part. It's a covenant. It's one thing to catch a fish, it's another thing to clean a fish. There's a lot of fishies sitting in churches that haven't been cleaned. They've shut their little box and what's in them is still operating through them. They're too scared to bring it out in the open. I've played mums and dads as a child with a girl. I fondled another boy's genitals growing up. I've been sexually abused by a man when I was as a child. I've slept with hundreds of prostitutes behind my wife's back. I've stuck picks in arms, broken into people's houses, stomped on heads. I've done lots of stuff that I'm ashamed of. I've done lots and lots of stuff. If you can't think of it, I've done it. And if you don't want to know, you want to know more, it's even on Facebook, warts and all. I've done lots and lots of bad stuff in my life, and I'm sorry. If I've hurt you, if I've disrespected you, if I've devalued you, if I've broken into your house or stolen your car or stuck a pick in your arm, or I'm sorry, I've made a mistake. I don't care what people think of me in any way, shape or form. I tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth to help me God. I try my best to live my faith to the best of my ability. I am unashamedly a Christian man. I believe that God is God and that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, but I have no right pushing my faith down anyone's throat. I'm going to live it. For the Christianese ones, they find me too confronting. But I must become all things to all men, that all might come to the knowledge of the truth. I don't care what you think of me. I'm not accountable to you, I'm accountable to God. I am a Christian man, and I will live my faith to the best of my ability. Now you can class addiction in 5 categories. On the 7th day, God created the apple product, and He rested. Hey, I'm going to chuck you a hypothetical story. Now, I've painted a picture of my life. I've painted a picture of what's happened to me. I've painted a picture of my family and the struggles that I had as a married man. Now, and I'm pretty sure that I've painted a picture of a lot of you. And let's say a mum and dad has a 14-year-old kid or a 15-year-old kid. Mum and dad's got some stuff happening at home, and there's 4 or 5 siblings in the background. So this is mum, this is dad, this is brother, he's 4, this is sister, she's 6, and there's another one here who's 8, grandma and grandpa. Normally they're still together by now. This could be stepdad, hypothetically, uncle and aunt, and this is Buffett. We're going to call him Buffett. Now Buffett is hitting the age of 14 or 15. He's seen mum and dad grow up. He's heard lots of voices from the light and the dark, and stuff has gotten in him. And he gets to the age of 14 to 15 where he wants to take away the right from the parent to speak into his life, and he wants to become a man. He wants to take it and put into practice what it is you've taught him. He's felt like he's never fitted at school. He lacks identity. He goes to school one day and the geeks from a distance, they're looking on, and then they've got the cool kids from a distance. And the cool kids are the ones that smoke in the cones and sleep in the Sheilas and looks like they're having a lot of fun. And the other one, the Poindexter's ones, they're the ones that everybody makes fun of. And he's sitting at school and he feels like he doesn't fit. And one day the cool kids, the one that everybody looks like they're okay, smoking the cones, drinking the beer, having lots of fun. The cool kids, hey bro, you want to go home? One boy says, don't do it, mate. The other one says, yeah, it's okay. Everyone else is. Bit of peer pressure. Cool kids are asking me, oh, this is not bad. So he has a cone. Something goes from his head into his heart. He becomes what I call an A. He wakes up the next morning, and what happens when he smokes that cone? He feels a release in a chemical in his system. It actually fixes the problems that he was on. It establishes a bit of an identity. The cool kids all of a sudden like him. But he wakes up the next day. Nobody knows. He looks around. He feels guilty. He feels convicted. Anakura. Doesn't want to tell anybody anything. Keeps it to himself. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days later, all of a sudden he comes along and them cool kids come across his path again. And the cool kids say, hey bro, you want a cone? And one boy says, don't do it, mate. You're mad. And the other boy says, oh, it's okay. You didn't hurt anybody. His brain checks to the week before. Oh, yeah, that's right. I didn't hurt anybody. Because his brain checked with a lie that he believed the week before. And all of a sudden, he becomes a bee. The seed that was planted the week before had sprouted life. Who remembers that in them? Put your hand up. Come on. Whether it be beer, whether it be pot, whether it be cannabis, why do you drink? Who here drinks alcohol? Put your hand up. Why do you drink alcohol? Because I enjoy it. Well, why do I stick a pig man? Because I enjoy it. Why do I smoke a cone? Because I enjoy it. Why do I drop some acid? Because I enjoy it. Why do I have some coke? Because I enjoy it. Who the heck do you think you are? Who the heck do you think you are to tell me not to do what you do? You have your beer. I like my cones. You have your glass of plonk and I have my meth. None of your bloody business. None of your bloody business. They become a bee. You class addiction in 5 categories. How you help an A is different than how you help a B. Oh, you can't help a C and a D. C and a D is really bad, C and a D. Here you can actually help somebody. But depending on the parent, and depending on who they are, and depending on the background. What I tell parents here at the B and the A and the B, you can do things called an MOU, which is a Memorandum of Understanding. But again, depending on the family, a lot of families don't understand methamphetamines. Methamphetamines is the most evilest drug to ever hit the face of this planet. And I'm not joking you. And you've only seen 1% of what's coming. Everybody at the moment, the government today, we have a whole heap of geeks in an office You know, studying all their books and amphetamines and how it affects the person, and they're putting all this stuff together to fix it, and they're making the problem 1,000 times worse than what it is. They're actually putting them all in jail, and they're equipping them and empowering them. They're taking them from one culture, they're putting them in another culture where you have to project an image that people perceive, and you have to be somebody not to fit in with where you are. And you get resourced, and you make more connections, and you get let out, and now you can actually get more than you did before. The second you get out of that jail, you stick that pick in your arm. It's like getting on a train. Lots of fun. Starts off nice and slow. Lots of girls, 16 days no sleep, but the train starts getting faster and faster and faster. One day you look up, everybody jumped off the train, the doors are locked, windows are shut, conductors are gone, and the only way you get off the train is when it hits a brick wall, always ends in a big finale. And then you get back in jail, round and round the garden like a teddy bear. That's my life. I've ridden that train most of my life. You can take the prisoner out of prison, but then you've got to get the prisoner out of the prisoner. Yeah. Even when I wasn't in prison, I was still in prison. The reason I do what I do today is I found a way out. This B and A and B, this mum and dad, that's what's really important. Oh my God, we've got ourselves in a bit of a pickle. A lot of you parents here, you've made lots of stupid choices over the course of your life, and you've done lots of stuff you're ashamed of. You've made mistakes, but what you don't realise is you've got children of what's gone. Now all of a sudden you've learned from your mistakes, you're getting your act together, but you haven't taken ownership of the mistakes in your past, and all the crap that you've done with your life is in your children. And when they get to the point where they can take control of their life and speak for themselves, you are the last person that they'll listen to, because it's like water on a windscreen. Your words hit the windscreen and fall to the floor. And you've got to stand by and watch your children suffer. Why? Because you failed to bring up your child in the way that you should go. I know I'm right. We have a responsibility. And you want to jiggy-jig and have that sort of fun. And you want to pop out a kid. You have a responsibility to bring that child up, to disciple that child, to love on that child, to empower and to equip and resource that child, to live a productive, successful life. You can't help but be in a D, you can help an A and a B, but you can't help but C and a D. And what happens is, when the person with especially methamphetamine is going down the road of the C and the D, what's in them operates through them. When you have a person who is full of unforgiveness and bitterness and resentment, you can see it. You can see it in the way that they speak, in the way that they think, in the way that they act, in the way that they treat them around them. You can see from the outside, hey, there's something wrong with that person. Who knows what I'm saying? Yeah. I've got 6 counsellors. I had to go through 80 counsellors to get one counsellor at Geelong. And most of the counsellors that want to come to my place to counsel just to screw it up and help my fellas at my house. And I'm serious. Yeah. They all want to give out of their brokenness. What's in them, as they make decisions, they draw upon what's in here. They set boundaries upon what's in here. It's one thing to catch a fish, it's another thing to clean a fish. A lot of them are just dirty on the inside. It's not okay. Now, you've got a 14, 15-year-old kid. He's gone to school, he's gone to the A, he's gone to B. Parents have no idea, but the frequency of usage goes from once every 3 or 4 weeks. It goes down to every 2 weeks. It goes down to every weekend use, and it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And mum and dad can see his thinking is changing, his speech is changing. They can see who he's hanging around is changing. Mum and dad can actually see it. Mum tries to confront him. Dad says, do it this way. Brother and sister are scared because it's in the home that he's changing as a person, the way that he's dressing, the way that he's speaking. Mum tries to tell him, hey, what you're doing is not okay. And he blames mum for why he is like he is. He blames everybody else for why he is like he is. And everybody else is giving their 20 cents in. You can't help a C and a D. Mum and dad think they're doing the right thing by giving their wisdom and their counsel, but when they go to try and tell a C and a D, the boy, the D on the head, is telling them they don't love me anymore. They're judging me, they're criticising me. And by you actually telling them what they're doing is wrong, and what they're doing is not okay, all you're doing is pushing a wedge between you and them, and you're putting guilt on them, you're putting shame on them, you're putting judgment on them, you're pushing them away from you, you are positioning yourself in their life where the last thing you ever want to do is come near you. You are pushing them away from you. Unintentionally, you are putting a wedge between you and them, and it is not okay. The less you say is the more you say to a C and a D. You've got to shut up. They've taken the right for you to speak in their life. You think that you have a right, but you don't. They've taken that from you. You can hope an A, you can hope a B, but shut up at a C and a D. The less you say, the more you say. Why do you drink alcohol? Because I enjoy it. Why have they chosen to use drugs? Because they enjoy it. They are enjoying what they're doing. You've got to understand, you're not dealing with a person anymore, you're dealing with a drug. The drug changes you as a person. It changes the way you speak, it changes the way you think, it changes the way you act, it changes the way you treat those around you. You will tell anybody and everybody whatever you have to get what you want. That's the drug. That's my life. You can't believe a word that they say. You've got to understand addiction. I specialise in two things. One is I specialise in showing the person how they can change their life. And I also specialise in showing families, like you mob, how to bring a person to the end of themselves, where they're at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, where they want to make the decision to change because they want to make it, not because somebody else is telling them to. A lot of you families in this house or in this place today, you are, in my books, no better than the drug dealer selling them the drugs, and a lot of you should be ashamed of yourself. You are slowly killing your child. Why? Yeah, you're putting a roof over their head while they go out on 16-day benders and sleep with prostitutes and break in a house and have all that fun, and then you let them come back to your house and you let them sleep for 2 days and 3 days and 4 days while they recover. You are slowly killing your child. You are slowly being a part of programming them into the deed. Straight out. And it's not okay. It's not okay. One voice says, kick him out. Oh, but I can't, he's my son. Well, let's just unpack that for a second. Oh, but I can't, he's my son. Let's just draw a little square here. This is home. This is happy family. Picture when he's in the house. Everybody's got a tiptoe on eggshells because Buffett's away. Gotta watch what you say. Buffett's here. Buffett's in the house, and Buffett has a 6-year-old who's being programmed, and you as a parent, that little 6-year-old can't speak for himself. And you are failing to protect that little 6-year-old from Buffett's words, from Buffett's actions. You are programming your children to have unforgiveness and bitterness. You are not protecting them. You are not bringing them up in the way that they need to. And one day down the track, you will pay the consequence. What you're doing is not okay. It is not okay. Can that little 6-year-old speak for itself? Can that little 7-year-old or 8-year-old or 9-year-old speak for itself? Does that little 8-year-old or 7-year-old or 9-year-old, does it have the tools to process what it's going through? Are you the safe place where that child can come up and unpack the thoughts that it's getting in its brain? The wisdom of God or the wisdom of the light is in the heart of a person. And a person of understanding draws it out. As you learn to listen to that voice will lead you. It will guide you. It will empower you. It will equip you. It will teach you how to bring good fruit in your life. I feel like I'm in a science fiction movie. I'm not a religious man. I hate religion, but I'm a Christian man. Now let's just say if we had Buffett not in the home. One voice says kick him out of the home. So let's just say this is Buffett in the home. Atmosphere, tiptoe on eggshells. One voice says kick him out of the home. Wow, the atmosphere's changed. The atmosphere's changed. What's the atmosphere like? I bet you it's much better. I bet you that the young kids feel safer. Oh, but I can't, he's my son, where is he? Oh, he's out there having fun. He's out there. He's out there having fun. C and a D, you get warned at the B. A, B, C. Bring up a child in the way that it go. You see him get to the B. A, you see him get to the B. When he gets to the C and the D, you can help a B. But once they've got to the C and the D, you can't. That voice that says kick him out of the home, and the other one says, but I can't, he's my son. If you're getting that voice that says kick him out of the home, kick him out of the home. Yeah. The quicker you kick him out of the home, you're not dealing with the person anymore, you're dealing with the drug. You've got to bring that person to the end of themselves, where they're at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, where they're out in the ocean drowning, where they can see by doing this, it's actually causing fruit in their life. By doing this, it's not only causing fruit in their life, but also in the lives of those around them. It is destroying everybody they love. I know that it's true. You'll learn the easy way or you'll learn the hard way, but sadly, this is what happens. 5 fingers, 5 choices. This one here is the decision to stop using drugs. This one here is your mum and your dad, if they're still together. Sadly, nowadays, there's mum and there's dad. But if there's mum and dad, brother and sister, grandma and grandpa and best mate, what happens is, decision to change your life and stop using drugs with methamphetamines, once it becomes a C and the D, it's not as easy as just saying stop. There are things like a memorandum of understanding that need to be put into place, which I'll go there shortly. This one is the mum and the dad. The mum and the dad get the prompting to kick him out, but they won't. And bit by bit they can start seeing that his thinking is changing, that his speech is changing, that everything about him is changing. He is becoming slowly an E. Mum says to do it this way. Dad says to do it this way. Brother and sister are filled with fear. Grandma and grandpa are putting their 20 cents in. And what's happening is slowly the family's all splintering. Family's all splintering. Mum just can't give up, and sooner or later Dad says, well, it's either him or me. What generally happens, it comes to a big finale where the coppers are called. Johnny Hoppers rock up at the door. Big fisticuff with stepdad or dad. And they get thrown out of the home. You had that chance to kick him out miles before, but no, you didn't listen. So it ends in a big finale. You kick him out on the street, and then he goes in vengeance mode. And he goes around and tells everybody how much a piece of salt his parents are. Salt, fish, chips and salt. You're supposed to eat it, not spit it out. So he goes around telling everybody how much of a piece of salt his parents are. Blames everybody else for why he is like he is, lives life a victim. But the problem is, people, he believes or she believes that they are right. Because the D whispered a lie in their head and got from their head into their heart. Out of the heart flow the issues of life. Out of the heart flow the consequence of life. What is in them is operating through them. And the D, they've opened doors for the D to get in them, and they can't see it. They are changing. If a person believes a lie is a truth, that lie becomes a truth. And the words that he or she starts speaking out of his mouth, now mum and dad starts getting words. Where did I go wrong? Maybe I'm to blame. I can't leave him out the street. So mum and dad start having thoughts, and all of a sudden they start to change. When it ends in the big finale, he gets kicked out of the house, he goes pity me mode, blames everybody else for why he is like he is. Mum and dad sitting back and crying, Mum, where's my son? And one day their phone call comes. Funny, eh, bro? One day that phone call comes, buffet rings up. Mum, Dad, I'm serious now. I'll do whatever it takes to change my life. I'm sick of can't serve and I'm stuck. I'm hungry. Meanwhile, up until then, Mum's paid bills, all these different clubs and pubs and shops and pubs and hubs and well, they've all spent all this money. And he hits a big wall, ends in a big finale. He rings Mum, so Mum puts on the Wonder Woman cape. Dad puts on the Superman cape. Oh, my son once was lost, but now he's found, was blind, but now he sees. The Lord has answered my prayers. Come, let's rescue our son. And they run out and they grab Buffett and they bring him home and they put him in the bed and they cuddle him up and they tuck his pillow in. And they cook him some soup. And then they ring every Tom, Dick and Harry they can. And they ring Ted, Fred, Wilma, Peter, Fresh Start, Harry Hunt, everywhere they can to try and get Buffett some help. Meanwhile, he sleeps for 1 day, 2 days. Mum and Dad excited the prodigal son has returned. And then after day 4, he gets up and in the shower and gives himself a bit of a scrub, has a bit of a feed. He says, Mum, I'm just going to drop the phone up off the road. I'll be back in a sec. Yeah, he goes like a dog to the bottom and a pig to the mud. And now you got him back in the home. Well, what are you going to do now? You're in a bit of a pickle. Round and round the garden like a teddy bear. Yeah, you thought you'd done the right thing by bringing him in the house. When he rang you up and he hit the brick wall at the end of the big tsunami, one voice says, "Don't, you're mad." Oh, but the other voice, "Oh, but I can't, he's my son, he's ready now." Who's done that? Put your hand up. Yeah, most of you. And you go out there and you rescue Buffett, you got him back in the house, but what you don't realise is now you've rescued him. He slept for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and you've got him back now. Now all of a sudden, he's a B in the sea again, and the cycle continues again. Around and round the garden like your teddy bear. A 1 step, a 2 step, particularly under there. Is this working?
Yes.
Sounds like a Darth Vader's died on me. Now you got him back in the home, and what happens is the cycle continues again. You know you shouldn't have him in the house, and all the lies and all the deceit and all the false promises happen again. Some families go through this once, twice, 3, 4, 5, until the end they can't have it anymore, and they cut him off. Mental in the eye of an addict. Why do you drink alcohol, Bill? Well, because I enjoy it. Why do I use meth? Because I enjoy it. Why do I use coke? Because I enjoy it. Why do I smoke cone? If I'm not on the meth, I'm on the chup. If I'm not on the chup, I'm on the alcohol. If you have an addictive nature, you'll swap one substance to the next substance. As long as you have one substance in your system, you feel normal because it covers the crap within you. You have an addictive nature. You justify yourself, well, I'm not using meth, I'm only using alcohol. I'm not using alcohol, I'm only using whipper. Oh, come on. Not okay. And a lot of people taking people off an illegal addiction and putting them on a legal addiction. How about we just stick them on the lithium? How about we stick them on the Seroquel and the benzos and all the other stuff that comes with it? No way in the world. Cold turkey detox us. So what generally happens? They'll never make that decision to change their life. If you're an addict, what our head does, our head goes to the options. No, don't go no rehab. You know that smoke there, you've got to work 5 days a week. No, don't do that. Heard they're pretty strict, not going there. No, Mum. Yeah, no, Mum won't have anymore. Oh, brother, yeah, I'll have a crack. Your brother will have a crack. And so I'll just sit there and I'll convince brother to have a go. I mean, he's got the tools to help me. And then brother has a crack at it, and he gets wiped out. And by then, Mum's recovered a bit, so she's ready for another round. And then she gets wiped out, and then Grandma with a platinum haircut and a false teeth. Oh, you can't leave him out in the street, he'll freeze. So she brings him into the house. And none of you are working together as a team. Everybody's trying your best. And one by one, systematically, you all get wiped out. 25 years later, I get blokes up on my door with no teeth left, Hep C, skanked out, 60 kilo. They've been programmed to do what they are. They're streetwise, they're smart, they've lived a certain life. They know how to tell any doctor. They'll tell anybody anything they want to hear to get what they want. They're smart, they're not blooming stupid. The only stupid one is you. Gullible. A lot of you are wet behind the ears. You have no idea you're dealing with the drug, you're not dealing with the person. If you continue to spare a person from the consequences of their choices, they never learn. Do not spare the rod from your child. Do not spare the rod from that child. How you learn is you've got to bring a person to the end of themselves. You've got to bring them down to a place where they're at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. When they're out in the ocean drowning and they're at the E and they hit that brick wall, what you do in that place, this place here, determines whether they change or stay the same. But there are 3 types of E's. This E here, I want this E. How I can tell that person is that E? They're at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. Mum's been burnt out, Dad's been burnt out, brother, everybody's been burnt out except for him. He's at the point where he'll do whatever it takes to change his life. No smoking, I chuck a hole, I'm a real prickle on the phone. Who spoke to me on the phone? You'll notice that I'm a real prickle on the phone. I want them at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. When they're at that place, it's really important that the hand that reaches out to grab them in that place knows what they're doing. If you don't and you bring them back in, you're just going to rest them back to a B and a C. And the cycle keeps continuing. I want the E's. I want the ones at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom who are in a place where they do whatever it takes to change their life. The other E, this one here. Who's ever had a hangover? Put your hand up. Come on. They've got a hangover. They're just a bit crook. They like the gear, a bit seedy for a few days. So all that was pretty bad. And they're just going to have a break for a while. They're not ready to change their life. They're just crooks. Like one had a shot. I used a bit of lint off a towel, and then I had sick back pains, and I was like in the hospital for a week. But I was attempting to use drugs again, and I just needed a bit of a break. As an E, it's the second type of an E. You can sort of help them, and you sort of can't help them. And then you got these here. That's what I said to some of the fellas at jail yesterday. Some of you buggers, you deserve to be in jail. You know what I mean? Jails are built for you. Some fellas are determined, no matter what it takes, they're going to use drugs until the day they die. They love drugs, they love the whipper, they love the hammer, they love the life, they love the sex, they love the girls, they love everything that comes with it. That's them, that's who they are, they love it. They have no intention of changing. That's what jails are built for them. But what's happening now is we're putting the wheat with the chaff, we're putting them all together. The government of our day have got it wrong. The policies and procedures that we have in place in our nation to transform and change a person's life are wrong. What needs to be done can't be done. Everybody's got to follow the book. If all of a sudden, sir here comes to me and he displays certain symptoms, I've got to give him medication based upon the symptoms that I see. If I don't give him that medication, I'm going to get sued. So based upon what I see, I'll write in the script, give him the medication, I've covered my butt, but hang on a second, he's a drug addict. Doesn't matter, I'm alright. We've got ourselves a system set up that's failed us. And someone breaks in your house or steals your car. How about we just stick them in prison? Well, that's a good idea. Let's just take them from one culture, put them in another culture, where when you're in that culture, you've got to project an image that people perceive. You've got to be somebody who you're not to fit in with where you are. You change, and when you get out, you're smarter. You're equipped, you're empowered. You're wiser than before. You're mixing the wheat with the chaff. Prison is not the answer for everybody. You are getting it wrong, I know, because I was part of the system for 26 years of my life. I have learned more in the last 5.5 years than I have in my whole life. Yes, I have spent 26 years of my life in and out of prison institutions from the age of 9. Even when I wasn't in prison, I was still in prison. I'm a multi-skilled person. I hold nearly every trade there is. I am a boilermaker, a tiler, a painter, a carpenter, a tree lapper. I hold nearly every ticket there is. I can format computers and hard drives. I can do nearly anything, but the way that my brain works is by looking. If you stick me in a metal shop and you give me 10 welders, I'll work them all out and I'll get them. I remember once I was working up in Kalgoorlie and they sent me down to Marble Lock as a mobile welder, and they slapped me on this truck and they had this thing in the shield. Never heard of it, never seen it, and I had to fix his belly plate on 5130. 3 o'clock in the morning, and I rang him up, how do I turn this thing on? I worked out. Now I'm a boilermaker, I can fix the belly plate on 5130. I can do anything, it's the way my brain works. You stick me in a rehab and you with 7 fellas and you say disciple them, show them how to change their life. Now I've got 120 blokes in my house, I'm going to have 240 within the next 12 months. My God. Mate, 26 years of my life I spent in institutions and prisons. I've learned a way out. My family is the drug addicts. My family is the thief, the weak, and the null and dejected, to despise things in this world. My family is the one that doesn't want to be who they are, but they don't know how to change. They're the ones that believe that they're useless, they're no good, they don't fit, they don't belong, they're not good enough, nobody loves them anymore. That's my family. They do matter, they are good enough, they do belong, they can change. If I can change, they can change. There was 3 times in my life that I know that if somebody had reached out in my life at that time, I know my life would have changed. I got put into prison as a 9-year-old little boy just because I wanted my mum and my dad. But my mum and my dad made stupid choices that affected me. I faced a circumstance that I didn't create. As a 9-year-old boy, I had to make a choice that I wasn't equipped to make. It was the wrong one. I made it out of anger and bitterness and resentment. It led my life down a certain direction, but the day they put me in that cell, if somebody opened that door that day, I was determined I would never run away from my home again. But the door didn't open. Another time when I was 19, if somebody had grabbed me at that place there, I gave 200% to hang around the geeks, the normal people, 200%. But I felt like I didn't fit. They were judging me. It's like the fat kid that runs a race and he's trying to run his best and he put in 400%, but he always comes last. But yet we've got to give the first place medal to the person who gets across the line. Yet he done as much effort as the bloke at the front. No one's seen it. 3 times in my life I was like that. I want them types of ease, and I know how to tell them types of ease. We're putting the wheat with the chaff and we're making the problem bigger. That's why our prison system is bursting at the seams. We can't do it big enough. We have people sitting in offices making policies and procedures that are making our society worse, yet they're thinking it's better. Everybody's operating out of anger and bitterness and resentment. It's not okay. Now, with this B and C, I said back here that you can actually help a person here, an A and a B. A lot of families aren't equipped. You can spare yourself that. But a lot of families aren't equipped because they don't understand drugs. They don't understand the effects of drugs. Methamphetamines is the most evilest drug to ever hit this planet. And you have only seen the beginning of it. Everybody's focusing on the addicts. But what they don't realise is not just about the addicts. The whole family system and the whole family structure, the whole generation is being destroyed. It is separating mums and dads. It is separating brothers and sisters. It is separating grandmothers and grandfathers. It is literally decimating a whole family because as that person sticks that pick in their arm and thinks, I'm not hurting anybody, mum and dad are getting thoughts. Brother and sister getting thoughts. They're changing, they're thinking thoughts about their loved one they've never had before. And we've got a generation of young kids who are watching on like I watched on, who are getting filled with stuff on the inside. And because mum and dad is not protecting them from what such and such is doing, they're implementing what they need to implement again, and they're changing as little tiny kids. And you're not seeing it yet. But in 6 or 8 years' time, you're going to see it. My God, are you going to see it? And by then, it's going to be too late. I feel like I'm in a science fiction movie, and nobody is listening. Mate, one thing to catch a fish, it's another thing to clean a fish. An MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. Now, I'm not saying to give up on your child, but if you continue to spare your child from the consequences of their choices, they will never learn. An MOU. So when a piss test, there's this thing called drug alert piss test kit. Sorry for my slang. For some of you ladies, I use some slang. It might be quite offensive. I don't mean to be rude to you or disrespect you and all that. I tried to be the geek and the normal person, and I tried. And at the end of the day, it's done my head in. And I know that I felt the lighter. I felt God say, Peter, I've called you to be you. It's okay, mate. Yeah. So I'm just trying to be, please don't be offended at me. Now, the MOU, there's a thing called a drug alert. It's a urine test kit. You get it from a chemist. It's $60. Has 5 samples in it. And if you have a slight inkling that your son is using drugs, he'll say, oh, Mum, I'm just smoking a few cones. He knows that if he says cones, you won't think it's serious. Don't believe a word that he says. He'll tell you it's cannabis. Don't believe a word that he says. Cannabis doesn't make you stay up all night. Cannabis doesn't make you sleep all day. Cannabis doesn't make you look out the window and think little people are following you. Trust me, I used to be president of the Lupus Club, man. I spent 3 days, I did, you know. I spent 3 days in a shed once with this little camera like this, looking at this screen. Another time I used to sneak out at 3 o'clock in the morning with a digital camera at the neighbour's fence, and I jump over the top of the flash trying to take pictures of the little people. I know they're there. Another time I go to the chainsaw at 3 o'clock in the morning. Another time I go to the chainsaw at 3 o'clock in the morning, I went over the road, and I'm starting this thing up at 3 o'clock. Get out of the tree! I know you're up there, don't come down, I'm jumping down! I know all about the drugs. I've been in straitjackets, I've been in nut houses, I've been in the Lupus Club, I've been in hand signals, I've had everything you can. I specialise in addiction, I know what I'm doing. No, sweetie. She used to sit there for me while I was driving the car, and we used to have like 16 handguns under the street, 2.5 kilo in the boot, and I'm sitting there in the passenger seat, and I'm thinking, she's working for the coppers, you do the hand signal, scratch my lip here. I can take your hand on the stick. Sorry, this is serious. And MOU, so if you see a person, or if your loved one is on, and they're telling you they're smoking cannabis, don't believe them. Get them to piss in a cup. Get them to piss in a cup, stick that wand in there, and that wand tells you what you're dealing with. And secondly, you see a responder that says amphetamines, or opioids, or benzos, or anything, act upon it. And work with them. Once a person is over the age of 15, they are responsible for their children. When they get to the C and the D, the less you say is the more you say. You need to set boundaries in your life. You don't give up on them, but when they get to the C and the D, shut up. They've obviously taken the right for you to speak into their life, but as you continue to put your opinion on them, what you're doing is you're pushing them away from you. They won't run to you, they will run from you because they feel guilt, they feel condemnation, they feel shame. And you would be the last person they run to. They'll go everywhere else except for you until they get to the E. That's wrong. When they piss test and you get that cup, and if you can get them at the A or the B, if you can get them here or here, you get a piss in the cup and they're rightio. This is what we're dealing with. You say, hey son, first you should take ownership of how you brought them up. You've made mistakes. I've made lots of mistakes in my life. I don't mean to hurt you, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I've made lots of mistakes as a dad. I've done stuff in my past that I shouldn't have done, and I want to say to you personally with all my heart, I'm sorry. As a mum and a dad, I've actually made mistakes, and you've probably seen me do stupid stuff over my life that I shouldn't have done, and I ask your forgiveness. Would you forgive me? And I love you, I care about you, I don't want you going down the road. But I have no right to speak in your life. You are a grown man now. But you're in a position where you're going to make some choices, and these choices are going to affect your life. If you want to stay under my roof, I would love to come alongside and help you. But with this piss to the cup and you're on drugs, if you want to stay in my house, and I want you to stay in my house because I care for you, but these are the boundaries that we're going to have to set. I don't want you using drugs on or off my property, on or off, on or off, on or off. Oh, but mum, I'm not smoking at home. No, on or off the property. On or off the property. I want you to do 2 or 3 piss tests a week, randomly, whenever I feel you're on drugs. I don't want you hanging around these certain people for a while. And I want you to actually see a counsellor and you put a list of stuff that you want specifically, because every person's memorandum of understanding would be different depending on the family, depending on the history, depending on the life. Every person's MOM would be different. And you say, hey, but this is what I want from you. Now, what is it you want from me? Let them put some stuff in return. Okay, well, if I agree not to use drugs, and if I agree to do this, and this is what I want from you. Well, this is what I want my part. So get 2 parts, so it's a proactive thing. And you say, okay, well, fair enough, this looks pretty good. And the 2 of you just sit down, and then it's okay, well, if you use drugs, how do you reckon we should handle this? Well, myself personally, if this is the parents, and this is the son, myself personally, I don't want drugs on off of my property. If you use it, I want you instantly off my property. Our deal is off. I'm not having drugs under my roof at all. It's a 0 tolerance. Can't happen. Yeah, that's fair, mum. Okay, let's sign off on that. If you were to bring all your mates from your past over, how do you reckon we handle it? And write a whole list of responses to whatever it is you've set on this MOM here of how you would respond before you bring that person back in your home. It's called a memorandum of understanding. When you're both happy, you sign off on it. And you stick to that. You stick to that as a plan of attack. If he does use drugs or substances and on over the property, you must hand him over to the consequence of the choices. But guard your heart, you're not giving up. One voice inside you will be telling you to kick your son or your daughter off the property. One voice will be telling you, but I can't, he's my son. If you picture the fruit of keeping him in the property, what's the fruit like? If you picture the fruit of kicking him off the property, what's the fruit like? Don't think of this person, think of everybody who's living in the house. You have an obligation to care for that house. You have an obligation to care. That person is an adult now. They are choosing to drink wine because they enjoy it. They are choosing to drink alcohol because they enjoy it. They are choosing to drink and use drugs because they enjoy it. It's their choice. They are grown adults. It doesn't mean you give up on them. Let them continue to drink their beer. Let them continue to smoke their smokes. Let them continue to do what you know that they shouldn't do. And just love on them. Love on them. Set your boundaries. Whatever you do, keep your wallet closed. Do not pay any of their bills at all in any way, shape or form. Do not buy them bags of shopping and rob them up, rock on the door and put the shopping in the thing because, oh, they've got no food. Because they know that every week you're going to bring them food. So when the dough comes in or the money comes in, they're just going to go get a shot because mum's bringing me food every week. What is you going to act, sweetie? You look like a bit guilty up there. Don't do that. Don't give them nothing. If they're hungry, meet them up for Hungry Jacks and buy them a Whopper, double beef with cheese, heavy mayonnaise, heavy ketchup, deep feed. Chuck some extra pickle in there as a bonus. But don't give them any money. If you spare them from the consequence of their choice, if you choose to stick methamphetamines or drugs in your arm or smoke it, there is a consequence. And it is sad as a parent to watch your child go down that road. But if you come together as a group Those 5 people, you know who those 5 people are. If you see a loved one who's using drugs and substances, you will know who that person will run to, because each one of those people are his safe place. Right at the beginning, get them all together, nominate one team leader who is strong enough, who won't act out of emotion to call the shots. Listen to what that person says, come together in agreement, stop your gossiping, stop your talking about, stop your sowing your division, come together as a group united, nominate one person as a team leader to call the shots, and guide that person to the end of themselves. If they're hungry, meet at Hungry Jack's and buy them a feed, but don't give them any money. If they ring you up and say the clubs are going to put a gun in my head and break my kneecaps, don't pay their bill. If you're rented a house and put them in a house because you can't have them in your own, I've got parents doing that. You're slowly killing your son. You are slowly killing your son. I've got parents that go and rent a flat or a house because they don't want the child in the house, and to ease the parent's conscience, they actually go and rent a house and they put the addict in the house. And they don't get any rent, they don't get anything, their houses are drugged in, and you're financing a drug den, not just to kill your son, but somebody else's as well. How do you feel? It's not okay. Do not spare the rod from your child. How we learn is through the consequence of our choices. You've got to bring a person to the end of themselves. You've got to bring to a point where when you use chemicals and drugs and substances, there is a consequence. If you continue to spare them from the consequence of their choices, they're not going to come to the place where they see that what they're doing is not okay. And when they are out in the ocean drowning, and at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, they will ring each one of you. They will ring mum. The mum should say, son, I love your son. I care about your son. I'm not qualified to help you in the way that I need to, but I am in the way that I want to. I've done some research, son. Here's a list of phone numbers, but you need to call. Oh, but mum, I haven't got 40 cents. Well, mate, you get 60 bucks to get a bit of a tickle, and you can't get 40 cents to make a phone call. Oh, I'm sorry, son, but I can't help you. Hang on the phone. Text the numbers through. He will call you fish chips and salt and all these other funny snack words. And then he'll ring the next person, and then it will happen again. And then he'll ring the next person, and if everybody says exactly the same thing, his brain or her brain is thinking. And all that's left is the numbers that everybody's been texting. Do your research. We've done our research. We give a list of rehabilitation centres and places that are equipped to actually deal with people caught up in addiction. We guide families how to bring a person to the end of themselves. Not so you have to go through 20 years of wiping out families. We protect the whole generation. Not only do we protect the generation, we teach them how to protect the younger ones. We guide them to a place where the person is at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. My house is 120 men. We are 100% self-funded. We have 50 plus staff across 10 properties. There's not a program like ours anywhere in Australia that is working at restoring not just the lives of men, but whole families in our community, and it costs nobody nothing. Not one single cent. It's lots of fun sticking a doodle in a prostitute. It's lots of fun sitting 16 days no sleep. It's lots of fun doing all that sort of stuff. But I don't believe that it's okay that when you finish having all that fun and you hit the brick wall and it ends in a big finale, that I should rock up on DCP or this door or that door and expect somebody else to pay for my stupidity. Because that's what we have in place at the moment. We have a government that is sparing people from the consequences of their choices, and all of us as taxpayers are paying for your stupidity. And that is not okay. My tax-paying dollars are for the expansion of the Reed Highway. My tax-paying dollars are to build a community where we can live together in harmony and we can enjoy the fruits of our labour. It's to create community. It's not to bail people out from stupid choices, which we do. We spend more money on people's stupidity than we do on the systems and structures of ours. Does my head in. Even Centrelink was set up. Centrelink was set up by our government for people in short-term needs of crisis. Short-term. And in other words, you're a tax-paying man, you live life, and you get to 65, you're entitled to the pension, man. I reckon you should have the best pension out. I reckon you should be looked after, loved on. You've sowed in our community for the last 65 years. You need to be cared for. You need to be appreciated, you need to be valued. But for one of you young 16, 17-year-old, 21-year-old people that want to live off my money, no way in the world, get off your bum and work, big old punt hole. We got all of our fellas off of Centrelink completely within 7 months. Centrelink was set up by our government for people in short-term needs and crisis, not something we lived off. We get on Centrelink for the first 3 months, within 3 months they earn 1,000 working credits. We get a working 2 days a week pay work at the 3 month stage, or the 4 month stage, we've lost 1,000 working credits. And by the 4 month stage to the 6 month stage, they're completely off Centrelink. That's what Centrelink was set up for. That's what we use it for. It's not something to be lived on. I specialise in addiction. A lot of families think they're doing the right thing, but in actual fact they're doing the wrong thing. And it's not okay. Now we're going to have a PA that hopefully going to give me another cup of tea. And then we're going to have some questions. Would anybody like to ask some questions? After lunch, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to share about, I'm going to share a bit about enabling. I'm going to share a bit also about how our program works, how the stages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and how it actually works and changing a person's life. Within 12 months of Shalom program, our program not only fixes all the damage on the inside of the person's heart, it literally brings restoration to the whole family structure. It reunites the mums, the dads, the brothers, the sisters. It gets all the unforgiveness, the bitterness, the resentment. Every one of our fellas within 12 months when they leave our program, they leave 100% debt-free. Every one of our fellas within 12 months, they leave with a driver's license extraordinary, they own their own car, and they are all working full-time as productive members of society, free from the influence of drugs and substances, all within 12 months, and it costs nobody nothing. I don't need your money, I don't need your 20 cents, I don't need your 50 cents. I just need everybody to come together and say, hey, good on you, mate, you're doing a good job. A pinch, a touch, a smile, it gathers community. It's not rocket science. Now, does anybody have any questions? We're going to have a couple of roaming mics. No question is a stupid question. And we're going to have a roaming mic. Who's the roaming mic man? We're going to call him Mike.
I don't know if I need a microphone.
You're going to need a microphone because it's not just for you. At the moment, we're live streaming this, and we would like everybody to have a microphone if you're going to speak.
Okay, we have a microphone then. Yeah, I heard what you said, and I agree with just about everything. I mean, I know Scanlon Way, so you know Bates Place.
Yep, 28 Scanlon Way, grew up.
Yeah.
Just played T-ball at the back there, the idol there, from 2 street places.
So I get where you're coming from. I want to ask you one question, and for some of the people that are here with regard to, we've talked about bringing people to their final place. I've had a lot to do with young people and what have you, but the thing is, when you talked about being 9 years old, I look at it, Nick, that prevention is better than cure. And I think that what you've actually done is, this is good to get these people where you are. Do you believe that there's a need a facility or something that actually works with young people to stop them getting to this point? Do you actually think that it's worthwhile investing in them to actually provide a facility that does the stuff that helps kids, or should we wait until they get older?
Well, I always reckon prevention's the cure. I always reckon the prevention's the cure. So how about you as parents get your bloody act together and stop being selfish? So, you men, stop letting your package define the direction of your life. Put away your pornography. Start paying your taxes. Start taking ownership. Start leading your home as a man should. Us as men have a lot to be accounted for. Start as men. But at the moment, there's lots of stuff. If you stick me in a metal shop, I'm a boilermaker. You stick me in a carpenter shop, I'm a carpenter. You stick me with a bunch of youth for about 15 months, 2 years, and I might be actually qualified to give you some comments there. But at the moment, all of us, regardless of what field, regardless of what stage, we're all trying our best. Your passion is the youth. My passion is the ease. Everybody's different and all of us are trying our best. And I'm not fully qualified to give you the answer that you need, except to say that as us as parents, as we start leading by example, we wouldn't have young kids who are actually doing what they're doing.
Exactly right.
Yeah, so parents, start getting your act together. What I found myself, it's truth that sets us free. Be accountable. I got on my knees in front of my sons, and I held their forgiveness. I held their hands, and I asked their forgiveness for being a dad. I asked their forgiveness and said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Will it work for every single one of them? No, but it'll work for a bloody lot of them. It starts by us living life by example, leading by example. It's sad, it's sad, it's sad. It's sad. A lot of kids have got a lot of anger, a lot of hurt, a lot of bitterness. My youngest fella in my house is 15. My oldest fella in my house is nearly 75. Sad. Someone, Mike over here. You stand in the middle of the corridor here, bro, and then we're going to go back to the forwards.
I just want to ask a question. Between B and C, you know, you have people that are coming from alcohol or abuse, that sort of thing, to get into those drugs. Somewhere between there is a suicide. How do we deal with that?
Well, I have lots of suicides. I had one a couple of weeks back where he put a bag over his head, some duct tape, got himself drunk and just slowly went to sleep and asphyxiated himself. Worst case scenario, they're going to die. And we're going to get people to die, we're going to get people suicide. I deal with it all the time. We've got a dad who just had to bury his 26-year-old kid who overdosed on sleeping tablets. What do you say? How do you deal with it? Some are going to die, some aren't going to die. We are where we are because of our choices. We can't control another person's choice. All we can do is position ourselves in their life, lead by example, encourage them to make the right choice. The less we say, the more we say. Don't criticise them, don't judge them. Just keep loving on them and loving on them and loving on them. Bring the truth in love. You're not a mistake. You can change. There is light at the end of the tunnel. But worst case scenario, they're going to die. And I had, 2 in the last week. Worst case, they're going to die. Now let's pick a person on drugs, for example, what they need. He's in the house. Not only is he slowly killing himself, he's destroying the whole family. I take 1 out of every 20 people who call me. I got 120 people in my house. I'm in a bit of a pickle with my shire because I can't turn the people away. I get 1 out of every 20. And over the road there's thousands dying. And I'm sorry to say, but it's their choice. I can't control another person's choice. It's sad to see them die. But I'm going to focus on those who can change. I'm going to focus on those who want to put an effort into change.
What about the children of those ones between A, B, C, D, and E?
As a child, right, and this is again, and I'm going to say, you've got to remember this is broadly, and I need to speak broadly. I don't have one program, I have 120 programs, and every family dynamic is different. I'm going to teach that after lunch. But every family dynamic is different. If a mum and a dad are both using drugs and substances, that 6-year-old or that 5-year-old or that 4-year-old can't speak up for themselves. And mum and dad get prompting that they should ring DCP, or they should interact, or they should actually go and take the child, but they don't want to lose the love of their children. So meanwhile, they leave that 5 or 6-year-old in a place where that 5 or 6-year-old doesn't have a choice to speak up for himself. So my personal opinion is to intervene. That little kid can't speak on itself. Somebody somewhere's got to speak up for that little kid who can't speak for itself. Somebody do something. Don't leave him in that place. Please don't leave him in that place. Please don't leave him in that place. And if the DCP has to get involved, that's what they're there for. At the end of the day, they're a mediator. They've got all these family members and they've got these 3 little kids, and as a group, they want to act in the best interest of the child. They've got to act in the best interest of the child. If that mum and dad can start showing that they're making the right decisions, if they can start showing their parent getting food, they can start showing that they're actually doing the right thing, the piss tests are clean and they're doing the appointments, hey, that they want to get the kids back. But until they get them in a safe place, somebody speak up for them. Somebody speak up for them. I mean, I'm saying it hurts. My mum and dad don't want to lose their children, all the respect of the children, and meanwhile there's 2 little kids. That's another generation. Oh. Next question, please.
Well, I've just got a story to tell you.
I don't want stories, I want questions, please.
I've got a question. Where it was affected by drugs.
Pardon?
This was a story that I was affected by drugs, not just through, I think I had neighbours that were they were very nasty towards me because I've lived in my little unit there for 5 years, and I've had windows broken, I've had all sorts of bad things happen from drugs because they would come over and ask ways to protect me from these people that were there. And thank you, Lord. I thank God for them, because sometimes they were nice to me, sometimes they weren't nice to me.
What I need, Sweetie, for the sake of people here, I'm happy to chat with you on the break about stories, but if you have a question.
Got the moved out. They don't have to worry about them anymore. They've gone.
Yeah, I want questions here, please, people. I don't mean to be rude, but questions.
Is it on?
Yeah.
My question is, would you also agree that to really help someone, the best way is to help yourself? And that is to really find what is your inner programming and how you can actually process it. And I believe you can process it by, if you learn how you feel and how you can express your emotion. Would you agree?
Oh, it's too deep for me, I'm sorry.
Too deep.
Next question?
Yeah.
Well, do that at the back then.
Yeah, I'm sort of that sort of person that likes to see things upside down at times, and I'm thinking, you know, people are looking at the druggies, they're looking at the unemployed, and maybe it's the fault inside the people that are looking. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, have run their lives on greed or on something else, and they're saying you are wrong because you're doing.
So what you just said there, right?
Yeah.
Now, I've got 120 men in my house, 120, blooming lot of men. Now, and myself, I was also part of the system. And at the moment, we're all here and we're all seeing at one level. But if I went up 15 metres in the air, I'm going to see more. If I went 30 metres in the air, I'm going to see more. If I went 100 metres in the air, I'm going to see more. I get sent fellas, right? I get sent a fella, and when that fella comes to me, a psych wants to send me this with the fella. And he wants me to read this on this fella, and he wants me to go through the psych's notes and the doctor's notes. You know what I do with that psych's notes? I put it in the bloody shredder.
Yes.
What's in that psych that determined him to come to that conclusion? And that psych is following a book that says, unless he prescribes certain medications, I've found blokes that come into my house on lithium, Zyprexa, olanzapine, Seroquel, 800 ml Zobon, they can't even lift their blooming head. You mean, and you've got bipolar, bro, you've got schizophrenia, you need some Dexies, you've got ADHD. I take them off 100% of every drug, and we work out what they need, not what they want. But we don't go by what this says. We bring them in and we give them a fresh start. We draw a line in the sand. We have 6 counsellors, we have a psychiatrist, we have a doctor, we have teams of people around and we surround them, we come alongside them, and through the detox stage, some of them are really alcoholics, they actually got to carry toilet paper in case they fart, because they pull themselves. And the ones that are speed freaks, they go, no. Like that for 2 or 3 days, we call it the finger club. And the nodders are just like, and they just scratch their nose for a couple of days, or they're just sick and they just can't eat properly, and they're just pacing up and down all day, sweating for like 3 or 4 weeks. Suck it up, bro. It's a consequence of your choices. Well, we can't do that. The book says you're going to get sued. Oh, well, let's follow the book and write ourselves in a corner. What needs to be done to rehabilitate a person, to transport a person's life, can't be done. If you want to stick chemicals or substances in your system that are illegal, there is a consequence. I will not spare you from the consequence of your choices. I will hand you over to them as you go through that process of detoxification. Learn from your mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming, Kalgoorlie. With a town of 30,000 people, we continually read how bad the drug problem is, and it's getting worse, and we're an isolated community, and it's out in our smaller Lavens, Leonoras. Are you happy at the roll-up we've got here, and can you tell us about the crowd you see? I don't see many young people here. Is that?
I'm not happy about the crowd that I see. I don't think it's good enough. I think it's pretty piss poor. I know the problem that you have here because I used to supply your town with drugs. I used to live on Atbarra Street, I used to live in Clancy Street, Boulder. I used to have a business up here and I used to bring lots of drugs to this place. You know, the crowd here is pathetic. I think the Shire and the whole everybody, get everyone on the same page, get messages like this in the footy clubs. Get them in the pubs, get them in the clubs, get them wherever you have to go. Start getting the messages out. You parents, get off your ass and start making right choices. All of us start leading by example. This is a small crowd, it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
the other thing from where I sit, I don't see any kids here, but I see a lot of older people here. Is that reflective of what you see elsewhere, that we have got the grandparent problem?
A lot of the kids, the people who are using it, it's like they'll probably be sitting at the pub doing the CAB bet, or they'll be sitting at home. You know, and it doesn't become a problem. And a lot of people don't want to put their head up because they're just trying to put their head in the sand. Oh, it's okay. It's not hurting me. We got a real big problem, and a real big problem. A really big problem. And while everyone's focusing on the addict, every resource that has to do with family counselling, parenting counselling, kids services, everything's being stretched its capacity, and we can't keep up. And in the next 7 to 10 years, what happens? It's huge. This is huge. It's going, and the government's got it wrong. We've got politicians of our day slack-handed out their things. They're telling people who want vengeance, the little group that sit there and make a noise. It's not a rehab in my area group. And the politicians are listening to that little tiny group, or the majority, and while they're listening to the tiny group who act in anger and bitterness and resentment, let's put them in jail, they're making the problem worse. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, guys, you got one more question?
Yeah, hi. I'm wondering, what if I can't get my son to piss in a cup?
Kick him out of the house.
Well, he's living me out of the house.
Okay, that's none of your business then. How old is he?
Oh no, because he's got young children and it's being passed on.
Pardon?
Generations, like you say, they're being ruined.
If
I want to stop him.
Well,
Right
see,
now.
this is where it stops, right? So I know I'm going to paint you your story. So you've made a mistake as a mum. Your son no longer is living under your house. You've learned by your mistakes. You're getting it right. You can see him heading down the same right. You've lost the right to speak to his life. Your words to him are like water on a windscreen. When they hit the windscreen, they just fall to the floor. You keep telling what he's doing is wrong. You should stop telling what he's doing wrong, and you should keep loving on him. If you see those children are at a risk and they're getting hurt and they're getting put through that, please ring DCP. Please ring the Department of Child Protection and say, this is what I see. Alert somebody to something that's going on in case something really, really seriously does happen, because those children can't speak for themselves. If you are a lady in this room, or you're a man in this room, and you have custody of your child, and your partner is using drugs, and you're allowing that partner who's using drugs, even though he's not in your house, access to that child, what's in him is still operating through him, please go to somewhere like Relationships Australia and get yourself a neutral party who can act between the two, separate yourself, and make sure you get a neutral party to actually facilitate in the best interest of that child. We've got to protect that child. It's hard. Right choices are hard. Some of the choices that you as parents are going to have to do are hard. They're confronting. Some of the choices that you as parents, as an addict, I know I've been in that place, and when I come out the other side free from those drugs and I break free from addiction and that chemical releases back on, I thank my mum, I thank my dad. I see mums and dads thanking. I see kids thanking their parents for making those decisions, because the drug, it changes you and you can't see it. It's not until you can get truth re-registered to the brain where all of a sudden you can see what you've done. It's not until I come out the other side that I look back and oh my God, what have I done? I am so bloody sorry for what I've done. I am so sorry. I can't blame the drug because I stuck it in my arm. But that drug changed me. You're not dealing with the person, you're dealing with the drug. Somebody's got to speak up for those who can't. Kids can't speak up. Yes, ma'am. You got a mic in your hand.
Yes, a few years ago there was a politician that said children should not be used as pawns when it comes to drug addicts. If you behave, you can have them back. If you can't, you take them away. How many times does that have to happen when it becomes extremely detrimental to that child? How many chances would you give them?
Again, that's a broad question that needs it needs to be individual. We don't have one program; we have 26 programs. And what is relevant for this person might not be relevant for that person, but it depends on the bigger picture. But I mean, 70 times 7 in a day. I know it does get destructive, but it depends on the person. I was made a ward of the state at the age of 9, and so they ended up making my decision for me. My parents just gave me up, basically. How many times? Well, it depends on the person. Even then, let's not. I reckon personally, if I had Department of Child Protection here, if I had the prison systems here, if I had corrective services here. If I had each one of the departments in there, at the moment, this organisation is doing the best with what they know. This organisation is doing the best with what they know. This one here, but these two aren't communicating to this one. So everything this person does gets undone by this one, and this person does a good job, it gets undone by this one, and everybody's doing their best, but nobody's working together as a team, and it's doing my head in. Everybody has their own plan, and it's not being facilitated right. Where me, Shalom, I've got everybody on the same page, north, south, east and west. I've got all my counsellors, all my psychs, all my doctors, I've got my own circle, I've got all my employees, I've got 150 plus employers. I've got everybody on the same page from A to Z. Unless you get everybody on the same page and A to Z, it's division. Where does division come from? The D. You've got to be united, one mind and one heart. Let's chuck this one out there for a second. And I ask kindly that you would listen to this. If this is a shire and you are a mayor or you are a CEO, your job is to stand there and to support the councillors, 15 to 16 councillors. Those councillors have been elected by the community to stand up to be a voice for the community, correct?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
So those councillors have been elected to stand up for and behalf of the community. Now, if you have councillors, 2 have this vision, 3 have this vision, 5 have this vision, 6 have this vision, and they're not a united force that's come together in the best interest to serve the whole community, we have division. We have division. It is the mayor and the CEO's job to make sure that we have the people of the right heart, of one mind, of one heart, of one purpose. Not for the viticulture mob, not for the horticulture mob, but in the best interest of everybody. I believe that everybody who is against an issue should be entitled to express why they're against an issue. I believe that everybody who is for an issue should be allowed to express what it is for the issue. Then I believe that the council should come together and they should discuss it out, and the mayor and the CEO should facilitate the conversation to bring about the best outcome for everybody. That same principle should be applied across the board in dealing with addiction, but it's not. It's being policies and procedures being made on the run by politicians, by people of our day, to get the vote, to put themselves in the positions of power and influence to achieve what they want to achieve. And when they say, well, I achieved the building of a bridge while I was in Parliament, slap him upside the head. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, we were talking about placing kids into care who are with families who are using, with parents who are using drugs. And like yourself, we know that the kids want to go home, they just want to be with their parents. And there's not enough carers out there for kids to actually be cared for. And it's hard to know which one is worse, going into care or actually staying with your parents who are still using drugs. I'm just wanting to have a comment on that.
That's why the problem is so big. And so, if yourself, and this gentleman here, and there's going to be a lot of people like-minded, and I'm not trying to blow wind up my back end, right? But I am a multi-skilled fellow. I only make grade 6. And the way they learn, if you stick me in something, I work it out. And I learned more in the last 5 years than I have in my whole life. If I was in a position where I could actually, you give me a prison, for example, I'll tell you what, I'll make sure that I separate the wheat from the chaff. The chaff will be chucked to the right, and those wheat, I'm going to make them buggers grow. I'm going to put this, we need to change the policies and procedures of our nation. We need to change it needs to change. And the stuff that you're talking about, I can't fully comment on, because I'm not fully qualified. I mean, putting me, unintentionally putting me, but if I was in your circle and I could come alongside you for 3 to 6 months and gather some information and have a look, then I'd be more than qualified, but I'm not. I wish I had the answer for everything. Do you understand?
Yeah. DCP has a policy to try and build a family, keep kids with their families. They can't remove the kids who even need removing. And it's about working with parents, but parents can't always change very quickly.
But again, a memorandum of understanding, if you want to have your children, let's take it and took a bigger picture of it. Let's get all those who are involved in this in a room. Let's find out what needs to be done. Let's put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's put them in order. And if you want to have your child in the house, let's for example, if you want to have a child in the house, I want blood tests once, twice a week. Do you want to have your children? We'll give you children. I don't want just a piss test where you can go out and keep a balloon under your nutsack, or to put a pin in it all, stand in front of the camera, squeeze a balloon, it sounds like pissing. I used to do that. Sounds like pissing. Or you get someone else to piss. Blood test. It's a privilege to have your kids. It's in the best interest. Let's put together a system that goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you can have your kids. We love your children. We care for your children. But give us 20 blood tests.
Yeah.
And let's put a system in place that keeps the parents accountable. Let's not put something where this mob puts a band-aid on, who hands them over to this mob, who works differently than this mob, and they're not communicating, they're on a different page, and then they hand them to this mob, and this mob gets frustrated at this mob, and they go, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
I can, you can go and start that. It's ludicrous. But the politicians and the people of our day, they're doing their job.
Yeah.
We have a system that is failing us. The policies and procedures of our nation needs to be rewritten.
Yeah.
If we don't do certain things, we will get sued. Everybody's following the book. I've got councillors even that won't stand up for what's right. I have a program that there is nothing like this anywhere in Australia, that it doesn't cost anybody. It doesn't cost you a single cent. That is working at destroying the whole families. But no one puts their head up for what's right because they're all following the book. Covering their ass. Everybody's covering their ass. I will die. I will lay my life down for my man. I will lay my life down for my man. I don't get paid for this. I'm a full-time volunteer for Shalom. I have been since the day I started. I've written a book out there of this stuff. You're going to get ripped off. That's $50 for the book. I'm going to rip you off. You want it, you buy it. You don't, it doesn't matter. I don't have an income, so I'm going to set myself up. I need to teach people what I learn. I need to educate people. I want to spread the message. I've got something here that's working. I don't mean to rip you off, but the cost of their books are not bloody cheap. So if you're a publisher and you want to start pumping up heat for me, hey, no, I'll sell them to you cheaper. Until then, you know, suck it up, let me rip you off. Sorry. Now we're going to have 2 more minutes of questions. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I agree with that lady over there.
I feel for that lady over there.
I really do. My heart goes out to her because I'm in the same position as she is, where our grandchildren are being shifted from place to place and they are on drugs. But they're too silly to open their eyes and see where it's coming from. Now, our daughter is on a drug, a nasty one, we believe. We haven't been near her and seen her for nearly 2 years. We can't get to find out how she's going. We believe she's off a beanpole. We love her dearly, but we go near the place. The person she's with is quite violent. We don't know how to go around about it to get to her. She's our only child, and we love her dearly, and we want some answers how we can get to her to get her out of this position.
You can't. So the less you say, when a person, if you want to establish your life, if you want to establish yourself in the life of an addict, and you listen to what I'm about to say. My wife's parents, Margaret and Maitland Davey from Mongan Hills, I put their daughter, my woman here is Geek, year 12, ducks at school. Tomorrow we're going to be sharing how I got nuked. Actually, we're going to share a bit of Amanda's story, a bit of my story, how I got nuked. But she was ducks at school, year 12, farmer's daughter. Never done nothing wrong, then she met me, and then I started her life up. Their parents used to come down and see me, and I was doing 16, 20 handguns a week, 2 kilos amount a day. They could see I was 60 kilos, 70 kilos. They could see chunky diamond rings on every finger and chains and all this bling. And not once did they judge me. Not once did they criticise me. Not once did they say, hey, what you're doing is not okay. They just come and had a cup of tea, see that the house stunk and smelt, and they didn't judge her, they didn't judge me. They just loved me. Not once did they condemn me. Everyone else skanked out. I went up to the farm, skanked out up my dog, and still smoking, still here. Hey, just let me be me, and they just loved me, they never criticised me. But at least I could enter in their presence without feeling guilt and shame and condemnation. Imagine what it would have been like for her parents to actually see what I put their daughter through. And they just loved on me, they loved on me, they loved on me. They positioned themselves in their life in the way that I needed them to be, not in the way that I wanted to be. And when the chips are down and everything went wrong, I ran to them, I didn't run from them. Your children have taken the right for you to speak their life away from them. The less you say, the more you say. Every word you say comes across as judgment, bitterness. What's in their heart, they're drawing from what's in there. You're not judging them, you just got to say, I love you, I'm sorry. They're doing what they're doing because they enjoy it. They're having a beer because they enjoy it. They're smoking cones because they enjoy it. Now, one more question and we have a break. That's it. This lady here, once more. You need the mic, and then we're going to have a break. And the break time, how long is the break time going to be for?
Well, we do that at the moment, so for last month.
Yeah. And so what we're going to do after the break, give us the light to the lady. After the break, I'm going to show you how the Shillong program, how it actually works, how we actually work it to be self-funded, how we put responsibility for change completely and totally in the hands of the individual. And we're also going to answer some more questions. What else? We're also going to tell you what happens when they go through detoxing and why it's important that parents work with us. A lot of you families here are enablers. You work against us when they come into our program. Last question, ma'am.
Have you got any of these rehabilitation centres for females?
Rehabilitation
And why
centre.
not if you haven't?
Let me tell you, everybody actually answers that question, right? Now, I want to chuck yourself, and I'm going to put myself vulnerable before you, right? I don't have an income. Everything I own is being sucked into Shillong House. I work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I don't have an income. And I started Shillong by accident. I went into debt, I mortgaged my house to buy a house, and I'm not asking the government. I have a registered not-for-profit charity. I have DGR status, charitable collections licence. But if you look on our website, we don't apply for grants, we don't ask the government for nobody, we're not even asking you for money. We don't want nothing from nobody. We want our fellows to take ownership of their stupidity and their mistakes. And I don't want to say rattle my chin and say, hey, please, can you give us some money to help rehabilitate a person? And because you're going to get a voice in your head that says, oh, they're all about the money. And I don't want you to have bitterness towards me. No. Keep your money. I don't want nothing from you in any way, shape or form. Nothing, not even slightly. But I get people ringing me up and say, Pete, how can I help? I said, well, I don't really need anything. Can you pay for this? Don't really need anything. But because, well, there must be something I can do. So no, there's nothing. I don't really need help. You don't need nothing from you. Can we give you some money? I said, yeah, we have a donations account. It's tax deductible. If you feel prompted to give, man, I promise you, God is my witness. We have 2 external audit reports that we get 2 external auditors to go over every year. We make sure that every single dollar, right down to the last T, is accounted for. We promise you we'll steward those funds wisely. But we want people who want to give because they get touched in the heart because they want to give. We don't want to rattle a tin. Now, me, I've got 140 staff. 120 plus me, nearly 140. I've got 10 properties. I'm 100% self-funded. After lunch, I'll give you a glimpse of what's in my brain and how all this works. I'll start it off with a pop-up, show you how big our structure is. I've got over 50 plus staff, and I'm not getting financial assistance for everybody. And you try doing what I'm doing with no money. If I had time to actually go and help some women, I probably would. But I'm burning out. I'm really burning out. I don't have a life anymore. I mean, I really am. I'm burning out. I'm at my capacity. I've raised up leaders to disciple leaders to disciple leaders. I'll show you. I wouldn't normally show you, but normally I'll show you after lunch how a discipleship structure works. I'll start the session off with that discipleship structure. And it shows you how it all actually functions to do what we're doing and the size of the complexity of it is. Soon I'm about to step back. Financially we've been going backwards. My wife over here, Amanda, she runs our landscaping business and she's actually pays our mortgage. She puts food on the table. She is the breadwinner of the home. She gives me my pocket money. That's how it should be. Amen, the men said. But my wife has been supporting me for the last 5 years. There is a women's rehabilitation centre in Perth. It is called the Esther House Foundation. It is an exceptional rehabilitation centre for women with life-controlling issues. Exceptional. They're about to have a massive big facility finished for them up the top of Kalamunda Hill. They operate out of South Perth. They have 15 houses. They are a faith-based rehab. And they have over 60 girls, 60 women in their care. There are women's facilities. But why don't I have a men's facility, a boys' facility as well? Why don't I have one for Torres Strait Islanders? Why don't I have for Kiwis? Why do there's so many stuff I could do? How about somebody else have a crack at making one? I'm doing my best to what I have. One quick comment. Speaking of multiculturalism, what do you call a Kiwi with one leg shorter than the other?
Stop it.
What do you call a Kiwi with one leg shorter than the other? Not even, bro. Please go for that.
Just before you go, just a reminder
and the Tough Love books are available out on this side in the room behind us. So if you want one of those, please get them. The other thing I'd really ask you to consider, not necessarily now, but at the end of the day particularly, Peter does this work at an incredible pace for our benefit. And we would really like to bless him for the work that he's done. That's what this budget's for, and if somewhere along the line you feel that you'd like to make some contribution to him personally, I think he might appreciate that, and certainly we would as people. And folks, if you want the food, you go out that door.